Yo, what's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 177. I'm your host, Tony Polanco. I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
I'm not the one who's so far away. When I feel the snake bite into my veins.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo.
Brian Manjoma.
I'm back, baby.
Brett Murdoch.
What up, everybody?
And Adam Vale.
Sucker Free Sunday.
Mr. Call of Duty. All right, we already got some heads in the room. See, this is why we like giving you little stream start things. Everybody has time to get in there, get acclimated. And people are already asking us questions, too. That's perfect, because we didn't get a lot this week.
Good stuff.
You know, shout out to, let me give you some shout outs, man. Fatal Mephisto, Carlos, Black Metal Gamer. And
I was telling Fatal because we probably haven't went over the rules like recently, but if you guys ever have questions for this show, just leave them in the comment section and we'll answer them the following week.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, like if you're watching us live, obviously, feel free to ask two questions. But if you're catching the show after we finish, leave them in the comment section. We'll ask them on next week's show.
If we are full up, we will let you know if we have a lot of questions, and we won't need the ones that are in the live chat this week.
Wiz, you have room for one more, so go ahead, man. Room for one more. All right, man. Let's get into it, man. The first one is the Nels Coney, man. He is back. He hasn't asked us questions in a long time. Because he is usually like a comic book guy. Now that we don't really do comic book related things or pop culture, doesn't really have things to ask us. But he did manage to mix the two worlds together, comics and gaming. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So his first question is, what comic book series would you like to see Telltale do next? I know the answer for some of you guys.
Yeah, I already know that
one. Let's see.
So we're just limited to Western comics, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, Western comics. That's all he knows. Trust me on that one.
I would say a Hellboy one would be kind of cool.
That'd be cool.
We call up Ron Perlman again and get the whole gang back together to do that. That'd be kind of fun. I don't know. I mean, one thing I just have an issue with the Telltale games, and I think it's kind of happening. People are getting bored of them. They need to change. Yeah. They need to really kind of up their game a little bit. Give you something else other than just kind of the same old thing over and over again. But hey, that's a different answer for a different question.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what about like a Superman game? Because I mean, the industry has proven they can't make a legit actual Superman game. So why not just do a Telltale version of it?
Funny you say that, because I actually wrote a whole editorial about that. I'm like, why doesn't Telltale just do a fucking Superman game? You guys can't make a Superman game. You've proven you can't make a good one. Let Telltale do one. Yep. Yeah, I'm down with that. That was actually my answer too. All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm gonna say something a little unconventional, but I think it makes sense. I think they should do a Hellblazer game.
Ooh.
And
Hellblazer,
yeah, because it'll combine the best of both worlds. Like Wolf Among Us was one of their better ones, and then you have access to the entire DC universe if you do Hellblazer at the same time.
Yeah,
and it's perfect. It fits a detective story, and then deals with the magic side of DCU, and you could drop Batman in there and whoever else, like cameos and shit. I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny you say that was an unconventional answer. I mean, it is if you don't know who Hellblazer is, but if you think about the type of games Telltale does, that actually fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I already know Brian and Brian. Like, don't do one. Fuck them. Fuck Telltale. Fuck Telltale.
Yeah, like I should put a disclaimer. Telltale needs to get their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, let's answer it completely, and then we could bitch about Telltale for a little bit. Did everybody go? Adam?
Punisher.
Ooh, that would be good, actually.
I think that would be fun, because it's very story-driven, so I think that'll be... Because if you don't do that, you're just going to have a normal shoot-'em-up, run and gun shoot-'em-up. That's it. We've had plenty of those. But since, at least with the way they did it with the Netflix series, they added a lot of story to it. So, hey, go with that. Put more story on it.
Yeah, and again, Brian, Brett, I'm guessing you guys say fuck them, right?
You know, sorry guys, I just don't understand the point of Telltale games. It's like a choose your own adventure with only one path.
They're fun.
I mean, it is also essentially a point and click adventure without all the pointing and clicking anymore.
Yeah.
They've kind of removed all of that aspect of those games.
Yeah, that's why I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, like, they pulled out, I liked the pointing and the clicking, and if I'm gonna read a choose your own adventure, that's fine, but I want the endings to be different. If a not choose your own adventure book is just a book and it should read like a narrative experience, and I kind of fall into the same thing with games. Like, look, if it's going to be set up like this, consequence should matter more. If consequence doesn't matter, then it should be a more narrative cinematic experience. I don't understand the halfway in between approach, but that could just be me. A lot of you seem to love it, so
I wouldn't say I love those games.
I don't love them either. I like them, but I'm kind of getting, like Manny said, I'm kind of getting sick of the formula, and I'm getting sick of those games being so fucking buggy and broken. It's like, come on, guys, you guys have had this same engine for years, and you keep fucking it up. You got to switch things up.
I haven't had any issues. What buggies? When did you come across that?
Every single Telltale game I've ever played.
Yeah, every single Telltale game.
At one point, they all eventually crash. They all eventually stutter. There's always something like in between. Like every time you make a decision, there's always a chance it's gonna fuck up on you.
I remember playing The Wolf Among Us on Vita. And I was having issues with it. There's a lot of stuttering. There's a lot of stuff going on with the game. And then I was telling Tony, I'm like, yo, so I guess it's because it's a Vita version. He's like, no, bro, this should happen on PS4 or PS3, whatever he played it.
Exactly. I've played Telltale games on PS3, PS4, and PC. They've all fucked up. Every last one of them.
Yeah.
And it's always the same.
On PS4, I haven't had a.
Oh yeah,
on
PS4
Xbox
has
One, I had a similar issue with The Wolf Among Us on Xbox One, where I knew a dialogue was supposed to pop up. The game locks up.
Yep.
No dialogue, no nothing.
Yeah, so they need to fix their shit, man. All right, so I think we'll move on to the next question here. This one's pretty much for Brian. Okay, have any of you guys played Warframe? What are your thoughts? What are your impressions? I am currently addicted to it. Before I let you answer, Brian, Nels, you have not listened to this show for the last 4 years, apparently. Because Brian talks about this game all the time. How many hours have you put into this shit already, dude?
Give me a second. I will check just now. Yeah. So pretty much, I've been playing since it came out of open beta, and actually back when it was in closed beta. And I think I was Tony, do you know if Torrent still has STFU in play up or not?
No, unfortunately, he doesn't. He sold the site off. That's a whole other story right there. I'm not going to get into right now.
Then are the articles still on there, or have they all been?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know.
If they are still there, or somehow if you can get to that site and look up the Warframe trailer, I posted there that hey, this game looks fun. So since that point, I've been following it, and currently I'm sitting at 2,751 hours.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I pretty much have 97% of all the content they have made. So yeah, it's fair to say that I do like it a lot. I do think that it's just a really solid game, and the fact that it's free to play, and it does like the microtransactions model a lot better than pretty much every other game out there. I think that lends to it. And yeah, it's just nice, fun horde shooter. Like you jump in, you play for like 10 minutes or like an hour, and then you go back and do something else. Yeah, I think it's just one of the hidden gems of this generation. And I think it does need a lot more praise than what it currently has. But hey, that is the way that gaming works.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed about Warframe, like you said, it's not really as well known, but the people who play it are hardcore, man. They're like really, really dedicated to it, and we got to give props to the company that makes it. Brian, you would know the name of them. They're always giving you guys new content, which is great.
Props to Digital Extremes. They are one of the best companies out there. I think they made like The Darkness 2, and also they made like Unreal Tournament like way back when. So yeah, they've been around for quite some time. And also, I met the community manager like a couple of years back at I think Eurogamer. And wow, she's just tiny. She's like 5'2". It's just ridiculously funny.
Oh shit. Has anybody else played Warframe? I played Warframe. I played a little bit of it with Riku. It was all right. It's just, wasn't really my type of game, but I definitely respect, what it is all about. It's just not really my type of game. What about the rest of you guys? Have any of you guys played Warframe?
Yeah, I haven't played it.
I played it once. It was like a weird ninja space thing, and that was a free to play, and I don't know. I just didn't get into it.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of MDK2. Remember that on Dreamcast? It kind of reminded me of that, with the weird ninja robot designs and stuff. That's what it reminded me of. Just better looking, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. They obviously didn't catch my interest. My 6 hours don't compare to Brian's thousands and thousands of hours.
Yeah, I put in 1,000 hours on Heroes of the Storm, and I was like, oh shit, let me ask Brian, because I know Brian plays Warframe a lot, and I'm like, how many hours do you have, Brian? And he's like, 2,000. So all right, man, I'm gonna stop playing this game now.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna be Brian.
That's crazy. All right, man. Moving on. Okay, I moved these questions to the top of the queue because they're kind of interesting. All right, Fatal Mephisto, man. So his first question is: with the recent release of Titan Quest, what other classic PC games would you guys like to see ported to consoles? I have another question because I'm not a PC gamer like that. What the hell is Titan Quest? I've never heard.
I was going to ask the same thing.
I've never heard of that game.
Titan Quest.
I know Titanfall. That's it. I don't know, but
I know Titan Souls, but not Titan Quest.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I think we still answer the question without knowing what Titan Quest is. But
that
again,
one with the no, that's Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that's Dragon Quest. Yeah,
it's a THQ Nordic game.
Yeah, if Brian doesn't even know this game, we're in trouble.
The thing about PC games, a lot of those never go away. They're always there for you to play.
Fatal Mephisto says Titan Quest is a Diablo clone that came out in the early 2000s. Wow. Okay, so around the time Diablo 2 came out. Okay, interesting. Would you really consider that shit a classic then, man? I don't know. But anyway, the question stands: what classic PC games would you like to see ported? I've never played classic PC games, so I can't really answer this one. So this is for you old schoolers and Brian.
I would say the game Loom from LucasArts. Probably I'm probably just name a bunch of LucasArts games. I will also like to play the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Atlantis, another point and click adventure. Yeah, and pretty much a bunch of the LucasArts and the other company that used to make those games, Dynamics or whatever.
Right, Chris.
Probably I'd say if they could redo all the Wing Commander games, I'd play those.
Really?
Yeah, Wing Commander was great. I mean, it was one of the first FMV games I ever played. Not the first two, the third one. Mark Hamill was the main character.
Yeah, he did. He was the main character. He was a pilot.
In 3 and 4. So that'd be cool if you could redo Wing Commander. I did enjoy those games. Another one would be bringing back some of the old Ultima series. Redo those.
Ultima Online, yeah, those big ones.
Carlos, what about you?
I don't know. Some of the old games that I played were like Doom and StarCraft, but you can get those games right now. I don't think they're that'd be too hard. Maybe if you remake them, but honestly, for example, StarCraft 2 is a good successor to that game. So I don't know if I'd be too hammered to get a remake of that.
Is StarCraft on console?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
The original one?
Yeah, because
actually both of them aren't.
Yeah, because okay, so that qualifies.
I think there was actually no, my bad. I think there was a version of StarCraft on the console.
Yeah, but was it the port? Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same. Yeah.
Gotcha. Brian, what about you?
Well, I really didn't get into PC gaming until around about Borderlands 1, so I don't really have an answer.
All right, Brett.
I don't know that I really have an answer either. They've kind of re-released most of the classic games that I've loved. Are we speaking specifically classic PC games?
Yes, that's the question.
Most of the classic PC games, like I love the Command and Conquer series, but that wouldn't. I don't want to put an RTS on consoles.
It was on consoles though.
I know, and I don't like putting RTS on consoles, even Command and Conquer. I can't really think of anything because PC games were, especially there was a huge difference between PC games and console games back in those days.
All right. Adam.
My answer was already done. It was Diablo. I was really hyped for that, and it happened. And StarCraft, like you said, RTS just never work out.
How about those PC Star Wars games? I heard those were really good. How about those games?
Yeah, X-Wing and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I mean, they were good. They weren't great. Like, if anything, I'd rather them.
What about Dark Forces?
Yes and no, because
Yeah.
that was weird. Because in the sequels, he becomes a Jedi. So I don't know if anyone would want the first one back where he was just a dude.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, because everybody always talks about the second one. They don't really talk about the first. The first one is pretty much a fucking Doom game.
It's Doom, yeah. Star Wars, yeah.
It's crazy. All right, man. I think that'll do it for us. So we'll move on to the next question here. And I moved this up the timeline because I wanted Brett to answer this quickly because it's still kind of hot. All right. Since Sea of Thieves lacks content, what sort of content would you guys like to see put in? And Brett, that's you first, man.
Oh, I know. I'd like to see a patch that removes self-entitled players who think they know better than reading patch notes.
What?
No, that was just my dig because, dude, all the information was out there. Like, I'll grant everybody was saying that, dude, Rare did a terrible job of broadcasting information, though technically it was out there. Can I just say, first and foremost, at this point, like, can we just stop fucking using Discord as our official game dev interaction thing? This is not the first game that I've seen do this, and it doesn't work. It's fucking stupid, and nobody knows what's going on. So now that I've got my lighthearted jab and my actual complaint out of the way, I'll answer the question. I've actually sat back and thought about this, and the problem is that most of the things that we've talked about as a podcast, I've actually ended up already finding. The more I'm delving into, like, I didn't even know there were like actual swordplay mechanics in this game until like 4 days ago, and now I'm like, oh my god, like there's actual ways to fight with a sword that you don't even think about. You can block, you can charge, you can dash, you can combine them. Like if you block while you're charging, you can move while charging, and since you can move while charging, if you start your charge from a block, and then jump into the air, release your block, and then do your charge, you'll do a mid-air dash through the air and like spear somebody. So I'd like to see maybe bigger islands, like everybody said, although I've started to see bigger ones already, with like lots of little. I found an underground cove yesterday in the middle of one of the islands. So my big question is, and I know I'm kind of jumping on the front end of this, like, do you guys want to see like just more fluff or more mechanics? Because personally, I just like to see more cosmetics and shit. More cosmetics, more island, more random generation.
All right, by fluff, what do you mean?
Like narrative.
Do we consider that fluff though? That's actual real content. It's not just bullshit, you know.
Not in this kind of game, because this is not a narrative. This kind of game isn't designed to have narrative. So other than like you're going to hunt for this chest, or you're going to hunt down this criminal, or you're gonna go procure these goods, I don't really see what kind of story you would have in here.
Well, for me, like whenever you try to like search for treasure, like even in the shitty movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, like those, like the way, like the ways they do it to find like chests, like the mystery and the mysticism around these worlds are kind of better. I kind of wish they would add to like sort of the lore of that world, because it just seems like it looks just like a forge map, like a really well made forge map. And
well, like I mean, I've had to hunt down like certain symbols that lead me to certain other places, that I've solved a riddle that leads me to a symbol on the wall that I have to hold up a lantern in front of with a friend, or we have to play music or drink grog or do something in order for like this bright light to appear to uncover this passage that leads to a new treasure place kind of thing. Is like, that's not what you're talking about, is it?
No, where it's like there's like a story of like someone else, like an older pirate, or like I don't know, like we're talking about narrative, having like an actual, like it doesn't have to be like over your head type of story, but more of like make the world more lively, like in a way that it has history, sort of like in a Dark Souls sense.
So give world lore or give quest fluff. So you sound like you're saying more like world lore, like more
well, no,
like
this game needs a lot of stuff. I'm just going through one aspect of it. Like that's just one of them.
I'm fine with that. Like my only fear is, the only thing I'll say is I'm fine with a lot of that, but my fear is that if we went around the room and introduced a lot of this stuff, I feel like, and like we could magically introduce all of these changes to the game, I feel like we would end up with a game that isn't Sea of Thieves that I wouldn't like anymore.
Hey, if we sacrifice your enjoyment for most people's enjoyments, then I would take it. That's
Ouch. Well, fuck you too, man.
Hey, I'm just being honest. If most people, like if I could make the game that would sort of sacrifice the enjoyment of the few for the many, then I would do it. Because I'm part of the many. I'm just being
man of the people.
No, this is social Darwinism. But anyways,
Yeah.
like I wish there was a progression system. Even like I know I would think Brett would think it's fluff, but it's something that sort of, because whenever you do a quest, you don't feel any progression. There's just only one little thing that little bar that moves over there. I wish there's just more kind of stuff progression, or maybe like jobs to do in that world. Since you're going to spend most of your time sort of living as a pirate, I think it'd be kind of cool if you had like your own specific job that you could progress, that allows you to do things that other pirates can't do. Or like maybe there's like a blacksmith, like you can be a blacksmith, you can have better weapons than anyone else, or you can,
But wouldn't that ultimately harm the game, is my fear and my big question. Like the idea that, so you want there to be people that can have way better shit than you, so that if you disappear and don't come back for 2 weeks, or don't play as much as somebody, that you're just gonna get face rolled every time. Because that's what always happens in these games.
Yeah, but in this game, if you roll around a group of 4, and you're just one person, you're fucked too. It's like there's plenty of ways that you can be overwhelmed by the experience.
A group of 2 has they can take on a group of 4. Like a 2-man sloop can take on a 4-man galleon.
They can, but if you're a group of, if you're just one person and you play against 4 people, then it's kind of, especially since a lot of times not a lot of people can.
So because the game doesn't emphasize playing alone, we should throw all fairness out the window. Like I'm not sure. I'm not understanding the correlation that you're making.
You're saying that parity is essential to this game, and I'm saying, go ahead.
I'm saying progression parity is like the fact that they don't want people who have played the game for 400 hours to have a natural edge over somebody who's played it for 30.
Yeah, but if you play the game for 400 hours and some jackass just bought the game and beats you right away, and like it's like that they didn't really put in the work, because this game doesn't really have the mechanics to let you be better than anyone at this game.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Like what?
You guys are crazy.
Do you know how to do a sword combo in this game?
Yeah.
How?
You hold the right trigger. I killed a lot of people doing that.
I believe that.
I ran into people just swinging the sword like crazy, and I killed a lot of people. It wasn't really hard.
Oh, we need to find a way to have a duel. I will school you 8 times out of 10. Easy.
Hey man, good for you, but like it still doesn't make this game like not necessarily not be better because it doesn't have a progression system.
I'm not disagreeing that I wouldn't like to see a progression system. I just don't necessarily want to see a progression system that gives you better, that makes you a better, that increases the gap between players. If you've been playing this game for 400 hours, you already know the ins and outs of the mechanics and how to break turn and how to do all of these little things.
Yeah, because but that's the thing, Brett. You learn that within 1 or 2 playthroughs. So 400 hours is like the most redundant thing you could ever do of this game.
No, I know I didn't. I said I just learned some new sword techniques like 2 days ago.
Yeah, because this game is they don't teach you anything that it does take you that long. That's another issue of the game. They don't really tell you anything. So you have to learn these mechanics by yourself.
And I think there are a lot of people okay with that.
So that's like it's like the gaming version of artificial scarcity. They're like, part of the enjoyment is you learning the mechanics of this game, which is
I don't think that's artificial scarcity.
I said it's the equivalent of artificial scarcity when we talk about it. It's like you can spend 30 hours of this game trying to learn the basic fighting mechanics of a sword in this game.
Okay, but see, here's where I get upset. And I don't get upset about people talking shit on the game. I feel like people are talking shit on me as a gamer at this point, because I don't know how many times I've said I enjoy discovering things in a game.
Wait, you're saying that I'm talking shit about you?
No. This is where I get defensive, and I say I'm just giving the reason I get defensive is y'all talk like nobody likes this, and I sit here and I'm like, I like learning stuff like that. They're like, okay, well, nobody else really likes it. Like, yes, Rachel liked this. I had a whole group of Steam friends who liked these kinds of games. And I understand that they may not be for you, but is it really so hard a concept to understand that maybe something that you guys aren't liking? Like,
we're answering a question, and I'm giving my opinion about it. I'm not giving your answer.
I don't understand the part where you get defensive, Brett. I'm sorry, dude. You're a fucking man. Why are you getting defensive over shit like that? Who gives a fuck? If Carl doesn't agree with you, whatever, you know?
Well, yeah, like it's like the question
I want Brett to answer my question, because that's the problem. Like, Brett, you're like a man's man, son. Why do you give a fuck?
I'm not getting defensive. I'm trying to correlate two things, and maybe I'm correlating them too tightly here. I'm saying I'm getting defensive about what seems to be the game, but really I'm getting defensive about the idea behind the game. And I'm telling y'all, I'm not getting defensive about Sea of Thieves. I'm not being like, oh, Sea of Thieves, everybody needs to love Sea of Thieves. So when I come at it, when I'm saying like, no, other people actually like this kind of games, I hear, and I've been told other people being like, Brett, you just drank the Sea of Thieves Kool-Aid. I'm like, no. You got the chicken and the egg backwards, man. I'm arguing the theme. I'm arguing the idea that born Sea of Thieves, not Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is a great example, but my point is, even aside from Sea of Thieves, there's a lot of people that really enjoy that kind of mechanic. And so I guess we're having the argument, is it a feature or is it a bug kind of thing?
No, like so first off, the question was, what content does Sea of Thieves need? And I answered the question with what my opinion is. But you threw in the whole monkey wrench that I think that not a lot of people enjoy this game.
Oh, come on. None of these people want to hear us qualify everything with our opinion. They want to hear us scratch and squabble about what we all should collectively think that's in the game. If we all go around the table and be like, I think it needs this, that's not what people want to hear. Is that really what is? I mean, maybe I'm the asshole here, but I think that they want us to come to a consensus, not everybody give their opinion and agree to disagree.
No, I mean, that's the whole thing. We each have our own opinions.
There's no consensus on the motherfucking Throwdown, man.
There's not going to be. There's no
consensus.
Yeah, but come on. Yeah, okay. People on the Throwdown love hearing us fight.
Adam is the only one here that likes Call of Duty like that, and
that's it.
No one like.
If
we're going just our, I'm not trying to challenge you on your opinion. I thought we were trying to hammer out a consensus here.
No, we're not.
I thought they were trying to get us to go round table.
No, we're not, man. I'm not even gonna answer this question. I legit don't give a fuck enough about this game to even answer it. I don't care. You know, it's not my type of game. I played it, don't like it, whatever. I legit don't give a fuck.
Pass for me, so I just move on.
You know, and Brett, you are right. People do like it. Fatal Mephisto in the chat likes it. Who else likes this shit? There's a couple of guys in the chat that like the game too, so you're not alone. So Depp likes it. Actually,
You are not alone.
Barry Burns says,
Thieves
Brett,
are
you have.
here with you.
Barry Burns said you unleashed the Kraken, Brett.
Though you're far apart.
Yeah, but yeah, that did throw me off, Brett. Just being honest, when you said like you get defensive, I'm like, why are you getting defensive, man? Fuck that shit.
No. It's not that I'm getting defensive. I'm trying to tell people when it sounds like I'm getting defensive about Sea of Thieves. It's look, Sea of Thieves can go out of this discussion. I'll still get defensive about the same shit because it's something that I've been fighting for to see in gaming for a while. So something I thematically believe. That there is a place for games that are something sandboxy beyond sandbox. Tony and I were talking about this. Like, we don't even know what you'd call that, but something that's just like a pure playground to make your own adventure, has a lot of even mundane or monotonous tasks. Like, one of the things I even see about this game is people be like, dude, I would love for people to have just more mundane, stupid shit than this. I would absolutely swab the deck, even if it had no purpose. Like, people like doing little activities and having these quiet moments. It's the reason people play Euro Truck Simulator. There's a whole slew of different people that are pulled into to games like this, and I just want to make sure that
that's why people played The Sims for so long.
Yeah.
What happened, Brian?
Farming Simulator. It comes out every year, and people enjoy it.
Yeah, people like that shit.
I don't know why.
No one here other than me likes MOBAs.
Yeah.
So it's like we all have our own thing. Like,
oh, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But the reason I sound like I'm coming to the defense of Sea of Thieves right now is I'm afraid this is going to reflect so badly on a burgeoning genre that it may set it backwards. And I really don't want to see that. And unfortunately, from my point of view, there was a bunch of people who weren't familiar with the genre who jumped in on it thinking it was going to be something that's not. And of course, like, if you jump in expecting a fighter and you get a shooter, you're going to be upset. I love Mountain Dew, but if you give me a Mountain Dew and tell me it's root beer, I'm going to spit that shit out because that is some funky tasting root beer. Like, it's all about perception and what you receive, and I think this game got a bit hard on that. So hopefully it doesn't fuck up the idea for everything else, but I'll still continue to argue the ideas or the validity of the ideas behind it, even if this game isn't perfectly executed. And if that's a shock to anybody, no, I don't think this game is perfectly executed. I think there's lots of stuff that could be done differently.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in on this?
I didn't even play Sea of Thieves, so
you could try very cheaply.
I could try it out, but I think from the things I've seen with streams and a couple other reviews, I think it needs more variety of NPC enemies, and you need better loot for killing things like the Kraken, where you get nothing. You need there needs to be just more a variety of NPCs. So if you don't encounter people, at least you encounter NPC pirates and can fight them, right? There should always be a reward for doing that. You should be able to eat more than bananas and grog. What the fuck? Like, first of all, bananas don't have vitamin C. Like, you fight scurvy with oranges and lemons. So Rare needs to do their homework. And the thing with that is, like, with the pirate's life and the open sea and whatever, where's the British Navy? Where's the where's the threat of the government, coming down on you?
Good
That
question.
would be the Navy, the Spanish Navy, the British, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that not in the game? Why did they put these things in there? That's what needs to be in there.
Although from my playing a game, it seems like it's a One Piece type of situation. It's like a fictional pirate world. It's not like the real world. You know what I mean?
In our world, but
Chris,
law.
But you're right, Chris. There should be the man of that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. I didn't think about that. You're right about that. That would make it a more legitimate pirate story if you have to worry about the government stopping you. Yeah.
The only thing you have to worry about is roving skeletons.
Yeah, right. So you have the skeletons, but also there are pirates because there's things to steal, and there's an order, there's a government, and there's people who have money and stuff and whatever, and these guys are rebelling against the system. If everyone's a pirate, then no one's a pirate because there's no system. It would just be anarchy. So if you're a pirate, then there has to be something to pirate and rebel against, which would be some kind of authority, which would have a navy, which you would fight against.
Don't you mean privateers?
Yeah, but okay. So again, a world full of privateers. No one's a privateer. Like you
Well,
cannot.
no. A privateer is somebody who works against an organization. A pirate is just an independent contractor that takes whatever comes across the horizon.
It's too similar. Like bad teeth and drunkenness seems to be all that separates that in terms of like naval stuff.
No, a buccaneer is just a politically sanctioned pirate. Without political sanction and without a specific enemy, you are a pirate. It's a clear cut. I know I'm being a pirate nerd here.
So, but there's no enemy in this game then. If everyone's a pirate,
the other players are enemies.
Yeah,
that's just normal life. Then.
Yeah, that's just like rivalry. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna take his shit. I'm gonna take his shit. Where'd the shit come from? Whose shit is it? Where's the police or navy or whatever of this universe? There's got to be somebody fighting against you to stop you from taking everyone else's shit.
Good point. I didn't even consider that. You're right about that.
That's like okay. I'll challenge that. Why?
Because that's like an essential thing of like pirate stories. They need to be okay. They're pirates, right? They're going against the system. You need a system in place to fight against, right? That's not in the game.
That's a construction you guys are putting in, man.
No, that's all in every like classic pirate story, dude. What are you talking? You should know that.
Classic pirate stories is the rivalry between different bands of pirates.
But why are they pirates? Because they're pirating against the man.
Or
no, they're not pirating against the man.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. They're still like Spanish gold. Most of the time, it's always Spanish gold.
No, they were hunting merchant ships. They
from countries and from governments.
Not from countries and governments. Just literally any boat that crossed their path that had stuff on it, whether it be a merchant or a military vessel or another pirate, they would take it over and steal their shit. It was just, is that a boat? Take their shit. The only time that it wasn't a pirate is when you were a privateer. When you're a privateer, it was, I sail for the flag of England. If ever I see a French ship, then it gets attacked. And I get to keep everything that I find. And I can't be arrested because I've been cleared by the King of England to be able to do this.
Yeah, but to say there's no authority that would try to stop you from attacking merchants and stealing their items would be like if in 100 years from now, if somebody made a game like Grand Theft Auto where there are no cops, and it's like, well, how is everyone a thief and a murderer? Where's the people to stop that? And you're like, what are you talking about? Why would there be any cops?
It wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't like that because there was Navy and privateers, just like you said. I'll sail for England. Okay. English merchants just got robbed. All the tea got stolen. Who's going to go after them? The privateer and the Navy.
Why do you think they had privateers? Because they didn't have military out that far. Because it wasn't police. It was the Wild West. It's like saying, there were
still had sheriffs.
In the Caribbean they had government officials.
They had governments and they had soldiers there. There was forts built. You don't build forts if you're not gonna put military in it.
Here's how the game gets around it. It's a Sea of Thieves. Everybody's a fucking asshole and steals.
Yeah, I guess there's
no law. There's no law. They're just a Sea of Thieves.
There were places in the Caribbean where the governors were corrupt as shit. There was no standing government. There was no navy. The only thing that was there was privateers. The privateers generally went.
Also, you're saying all of that stuff. That sounds like more of an interesting game. How awesome would it be if you went to an island, if you had a freaking corrupt government that you were stealing from, that you could plunder, instead of just an island of skeletons?
Or a governor makes you a deal, like hey, I want you to attack this guy.
And empty forts just filled with loot. Wouldn't it be awesome if you went to that fort and they started attacking you, and you were like, all right, I got to figure.
Of roaming around and jumping onto other players' ships and taking their shit.
So you much rather have mostly a world with almost little external conflict except for other players.
I would rather have this game than Black Flag. Yes.
So I think it would be awesome if you'd had an external type of enemy that both you and the other players could unite against. Let's say you did have some sort of law that was out there somewhat patrolling to see that to see that piracy doesn't happen, and he rolls up on you while you and player and other players are trying to get to this island. Wouldn't that be an awesome situation?
It could be. It
it'd be a uniting factor. You could take out that guy, or you could take out the other guy, the other player, and be like,
looking at it wrong though. You're not.
Why am I looking at it wrong?
Because you're not looking at it from the chance of abuse. Because you always have to design these things with the most abusive players in mind.
How would it be abuse? In other words,
because you would basically be fighting an NPC, having another player hide behind the rocks, waiting until you were low on life, and then jumping out and cheesing you after a 20-minute long, drawn-out battle with an NPC galleon.
Or even having a choice of being a privateer as opposed to just a pirate, where essentially you are the semi-law.
Now we're talking, and see, this is something that I want them to introduce: bounties against players who have done murderous acts against other players. So have a new faction that opens up that. So instead of taking a thing, and oh, by the way, like one of those things is supposed to be, you're not supposed to be a pirate, you're supposed to be a merchant. If you do runs for the merchant class people, you're a merchant, so you can make money being just a merchant, selling chickens and spices and shit. And then you're the merchant that the other pirates are essentially going after. So they do have that, but in terms of the law, yes, they shouldn't necessarily have a standing army, but I would love to see bounties issued by the sanctuaries against lawless players. And so that if you go and you sink this pirate ship, you get to like bring back a piece of the top master, their flag or something like that, and you get a bounty reward for that. So that way you have players acting as the law, players acting as the merchants, and players acting as the pirates. My big fear is, like I said, if you're fighting an NPC galleon for 20 minutes and then another player rolls up on you and kills you, that's bullshit. But if you have two other groups of pirates working together, one of them is attacking you and the other one is waiting, and then the battle gets over and they come through. Okay, well, that's just strategy at that point. That's not cheesing the game. That's having two crews talking it over, deciding what. Because even then, like, okay, so you sink me and split my treasure. You now have two pirate ships. How do you know they're not going to backstab each other? That could be an interesting story. So as long as you're engaging players to work together, I absolutely agree with it. But my fear is that too many NPCs would disengage players from each other and allow the opportunity for pretty bad griefing, which you need to keep the griefing in good fun. So I think it would be better to turn the players into those law people or turn the players into those NPCs by giving them other options or other things to focus on, other activities. Patrol this route, take this guy down. Maybe they focus a little bit more on the merchant stuff because it's there, but people don't really take it as, oh, if I do this stuff, I'm a merchant. Yeah, you're literally selling chickens. You're not a pirate. You're selling chickens and tea. That's not pirate stuff. That's merchant stuff. It's the Merchants Guild. So I agree with you in the idea. I'm just really wary about how they execute it because you could really just dick other players over in this game, and I don't want to see it. I've seen too many games throw off a delicate balance and fuck everything up. The same way, like, wouldn't it be great to be able to jump onto the same server as your friend, even if you weren't in the same ship? Yeah, that'd be great until 12 of you get together on 3 galleons and patrol the entire map, destroying everything that gets in your way because you're 12 men against 2. And even if somebody else jumps on the server and tries to coordinate attack, the most they could get is 3 galleons full of people. So then it'd be 12 on 12 if you manage to get everybody into one server, which would take fucking forever. So almost inevitably, if you get more than 12 people, or if you got 4 galleons together, you could have entire people ruling a server. So as cool as it would be able to just jump into server with Tony and fight against him, as soon as you allow that, you're going to have huge options for griefing. So you got to be really wary about that kind of stuff.
Right,
which is why, and I take all that into account when I'm talking about these games, because there's tons of stuff I'd love to see. I'm hesitant to say a lot of it because I'm not sure if that would break the game.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, man. By the way, what's going on, Damien? Stirring up trouble in the chat, I see, huh? But actually, you know what? At the risk of derailing the show a little bit, I got to throw this in here because Chris, he asked you a question.
Oh, okay.
He wants. Let me see if I can find it. He just basically want to know he goes, why didn't Chris ask about other players in No Man's? Yeah, okay. Why didn't Chris ask about other space explorers in No Man's Sky? He didn't like the fact that you're asking about a government in Sea of Thieves.
Because like No Man's Sky, talking about aliens and the unexplored galaxy and whatever. I don't know what system this is based on. Pirates is based on something. It came out of our history. If you're talking about space and unexplored systems and aliens and all that shit, you give me a common frame of reference and I'll concede that point. Otherwise, no, I'm not going to talk about that.
And in No Man's Sky, there was actually some authority in the game.
Yeah, there was, and there were other aliens, even though they were NPCs. There were other aliens there.
Yeah,
exactly. And there's good guys and bad guys. There's merchants and there's guys and raiders.
Yep.
So, and by the way, no one here is saying that, like, I mean, we did a whole bunch of rants of fucking No Man's Sky and what.
Yeah, we already threw that game under the bus.
You just didn't hear that one because you weren't listeing to that one.
Yeah, of course not.
Because we were talking about something you weren't interested in.
Yeah, I shitted on that game. I don't know. Yeah, man, go watch back the tape, man.
Go back, man.
Watch the tape. Tell it the tape, baby.
Tell it the tape. Go back. Literally, I was saying I feel really weird about this game. This game may not be exactly what it is. And what was it? Nothing.
Pack of lies.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Richard, No Man's Sky is trash, and Elite Dangerous will always be better. Period.
Until Star Citizen comes out, I agree.
Well,
when Star Citizen
comes out,
comparing
like Star Citizen when it comes out. We're just saying that now.
Damien, I'm sorry, bro.
That Elite Dangerous was like not as good as No Man's Sky. I was like,
Hey,
better.
take that as a huge compliment. That's like saying you shall reign as king until the new coming of the Messiah. I mean, that's pretty high fucking praise.
Yeah. By the way, Damien says,
Tony, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No Man's Sky. He says No Man's Sky was praised to high heaven. It was. Then the game came out.
And it's coming out for Xbox, so shut the fuck up.
This game
man,
had
chill,
so much
son.
And it got shitted on. By the way, No Man's Sky Metacritic is 78. Let me check Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves is 69, 2 points. Yeah, some praise, man.
Yeah,
if you think Sea of Thieves is getting shitted on.
Okay, hold on. What was the lowest that No Man's Sky got to?
The lowest what?
The lowest Metacritic, because it was significantly lower than that a couple months after release.
Yeah, so someone,
that game No Man's Sky got shitted on hardcore when it came out, man.
Yeah, it was down to like 50 something.
Yeah.
You want to know like really funny fact about No Man's Sky?
What?
The user score is 4.5.
Wow. Yeah, that's not praise, bro. That's not praise.
Anyway, so funny thing is that it's no longer in the Steam top 100 played games. It's just fallen off.
Nobody plays that shit.
You find that it was one of the highest selling games on launch on Steam.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Damien, you can't just say whatever. That's just the fact that everybody shitted on that game, man. When it came out, it got hyped to high hell. I will give you that. It was very, very hyped. When it came out and people saw what it was, it was over. You know?
Didn't the main guy quit Twitter or something?
He did for a while, yeah, because he was getting death threats and shit.
He went quiet
so long. You know?
That was okay, but in fairness, and I'm not make this crystal clear, I am not defending this game. In fairness, though, we all remember that game wasn't supposed to be or meant to be hyped the way that it was. That was kind of unreasonable, partially unreasonable expectations from the community, partially really poor communication and overpromising on their part. It was both.
Yeah. Damien, don't tell me how to run the show, bro. Come on now. But we will move on.
Did he just say move on?
Yeah, he did. But we are actually moving on. Okay. G Megaforce, man. So his first question is, given the music industry's ridiculous plagiarism lawsuits, how tangible are video game intellectual properties? Aside from characters or other recognizable IPs, does a game's feel or scheme qualify as an IP? No doubt copying successful games is a good strategy, but at some point it's got to be bothersome for the creators of successes to watch their idea stolen and profited from. At what point does plagiarism in video games tip to actual IP violation? Good question. We've talked about this recently with PUBG. Everybody's doing PUBG now, you know? Mm-hmm. But as we also said, an idea is not intellectual property. You know?
Well, unless you're the one original with the idea. And here's where I think the line is drawn. Was it your idea to begin with? If yes, you can claim intellectual copyright infringement. If no, then shut the fuck up. PUBG didn't invent Battle Royale. It didn't invent the concept or anything near. None of the parts that it was made out of did they invent. Now, if somebody wanted to say, make an ethicless city that rose to prominence and then fell under its own egotistical power located under the Atlantic Ocean, yeah, you could say that they're biting intellectual property there, because that's Rapture isn't a thing that was really done before Rapture. I mean, yes, the idea of like a sea lab or underwater thing was there, but the idea of kind of no gods, only men, and ran kind of
Yeah, that's all been done. It's all been used in other.
It's all been done, but like you'd be able to tell if somebody tried to make another BioShocky game. They're like, look, it's a city under the water where everybody's abandoned their ethics. You'd still be able to make a case that they were biting off BioShocks.
I mean, there was you could say that, but then you could go to Batman the Animated Series with the second Mr. Freeze, and what was he doing? He essentially built Rapture.
Did he?
Yes.
Well, he was working for a guy who was parroting.
Essentially he was because he made that. There was that second Mr. Freeze that he made, as he knew that Victor Freeze was immortal, and what was he was trying to do was trying to build a utopia underneath the water.
Yeah, and he wanted to live forever. So.
And he wanted to live forever.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not a new idea. Walt Disney was kind of trying to do something similar to Rapture, create an experimental futuristic society with Epcot.
And see, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly how it would go down in court. I came up with this idea. No, you didn't. There was a precedent before you that had this idea, and I lose. Mm-hmm. And see, if I would have been BioShock, I would have been like, and I lose the case, because he just proved that there's a precedent set for that idea that existed before my intellectual property. So I think it all comes down to, is it an original idea? Original ideas can't be stolen. Stolen ideas can.
Like Radiohead when they sued that one chick for saying that they imitated Creep, but that fucking Creep song imitated another song. It's like
it was at the beginning, when you went after her because of the.
They always seem to discover that too. It's like, oh, they ripped me off. Actually, you ripped somebody else off.
Yeah, the music industry shouldn't be used as any kind of bar or litmus for intellectual property. Let's be real, because in any other medium like movies or whatever, film, there's film that goes into public domain. There's books that go into public domain. So if Manny wants to make a Wizard of Oz and I want to make a Wizard of Oz, that's totally fine, right? Nobody could say, hey, I came up with the idea for an alternate dimension that you get through by standing in a hot air balloon in Kansas and getting sucked into a tornado. No, you didn't, motherfucker, because somebody else did that in its public domain.
And the rights on the Wizard of Oz is also a little bit of an interesting thing too, because I think that's public domain and multiple people can have a Wizard of Oz's, but what protects each one of those versions of Wizard of Oz, you can own your specific version of Wizard of Oz. So that's just why you can have you can have a bunch of different Dracula movies and Dracula looks different in each one. It's because the idea of Dracula is public domain, but the different incarnations of Dracula are not. So Marvel's Dracula is owned by Marvel Comics. Universal's Dracula is owned by Universal, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to jump in on that? I don't think I have much to say about it. We've covered it before. Especially reusing ideas. Movies reuse ideas all the damn time. We've seen it in those summer movie wars where you have Armageddon and Deep Impact. These movies are essentially about the same thing. But the reason why is because they heard that one guy was making a meteor movie, so they decided to make their own meteor movie. Yeah, exactly. Or the volcano movie.
Or the volcano in the earthquake movie, all those different things. Yes, you can have similar ideas out there, but the thing is that when it starts reaching into the territory where essentially it's the same exactly the same thing, which, then you can it's like the case between the guy I can't remember, the guy who directed The Fifth Element essentially ripped off Escape from New York. And he got sued by John Carpenter.
Oh shit!
Because he essentially did rip off Escape from New York, and he also not only did he do it, the people see the similarities. He also essentially admitted it as well. He made Escape from New York in space.
He should have just said, "Hey, man, it's an homage."
No, he knew what he was doing.
Oh man! All right, man. Let's move on to the second question. Okay, there have been recent concerns about privacy and how our personal data may be used and sold, coming from Facebook and the Cambridge Analytica news. How cautious or concerned should we be with games with game companies such as Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo considering the large amount of data they could collect from us, such as app usage, browser history, etc.? Do they do anything with this data? Heavy question, man.
That is a heavy question, but I mean that's actually a big question. That's a question you should why you should be reading your agreements.
Nobody reads that shit
right now. I can tell you right. I mean, most of the time, what they do is they will open up and tell you, it's like, oh, by the way, can we share this with third parties? Remember, that's why.
Yeah.
Sony specifically asks, and I think Microsoft still asks too, because yes, these you think about it, every state collect all the data of what we're doing while we're playing, how many hours we're actually playing. That's why Microsoft was able to have those little fun little situations at their press events and tell you how many miles you were able to run, people ran in Halo, and how many people got headshots and all that great stuff. They keep
what do you mean
all that stuff.
I was going to say, what do you mean if?
Yeah, they do it. They do it. You know?
No. He said if they collect these and
they do.
Like, no, they do, man. You just pointed out. Not only do they, but then they share them with you. So yes, they do.
Yeah, because the question is asking as hypothetical. It's not a hypothetical. It's actually happening, bro.
No, yeah, they're taking all your data. You signed all that shit. You signed most of that stuff away when you hit I agree.
And the problem is once you're in the EULA and they change their terms of service, they can change whatever they want in there, and then you have to agree to it, or else you can't get on Xbox Live or whatever. So
that's it.
But Sony and Microsoft go through the extra rigmarole of saying, hey, listen, do you want us to share your information with our third parties?
Well, yeah. Facebook is a bag of dicks, all right? Like Zuckerberg lied about sharing data anyway, so he's a scumbag, and I wouldn't compare any of the big three to what he did. Right? What he did was sleaze. Like, fuck that guy.
Hold on, let's not let the big three off the leash here. I'm convinced we're going to have a big legal battle here sometime in the near future with either Sony, Microsoft,
or
Nintendo, Apple, one of these guys. Because here's the problem. And let's use Sony as an example. Let's make that the bad scapegoat. So you spend a shitload of money, hundreds of dollars, buying digital games tied to your Sony account. Sony comes out with an update in which they say, we would like to share your information. If you say no, you're essentially locked out of your purchase and all of that money that you've invested in your digital games. You cannot use the product anymore. It's not a choice. You don't get to choose yes or no. I agree or do not disagree. It is I agree, or I'm having hundreds of dollars of value taken out of my house and not really given any other option. While we may all be agreeing on it, I'm convinced that there will be a legal battle that it basically insists on we agreed to it, but we didn't have a choice because you were holding the property that we already own hostage. And that's why they have all these little things in there where you don't own your Xbox, you don't own your PlayStation, you're simply using them as a service at the discretion of the provider. And I think that's probably going to get challenged too. So while that's the case, yes, we all have to vote into it. I don't know how morally or how legally binding it is at the end of the day, because there's an exemption in like non-compete contracts called right to work, which means that yes, I can bar you from working for my competition for a standard amount of time for a standard distance, but the second that becomes unfeasible, where you can't work around it, like I can say you can't work within 2 miles of me for 3 years, but if I say if you can't work within 100 miles of me for 10 years, that means you'd have to leave the city or the state. It means you'd have to move your entire life around, and that is not necessarily feasible in the real world. And so that non-compete contract falls apart under the eyes of the law. It doesn't matter if it was signed or notarized or what. If it's unrealistic and unobtainable in the practical real world, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. And I would imagine that some of these user agreements are the same way. So, you get to court and you're like, well, the choice was that I either let them steal and, spy on me and sell my personal data to whoever they want, or I just lost $1,200 worth of product because they decided that they wanted to change their user agreement. I mean, we can't all live in a world where we can just have our stuff taken away at the drop of a hat because somebody decides to change the rules and we don't agree with it. And we may live in that world now, but when everything comes down to it, and that's the standard, and every product in your house, basically the company who has the product is decide, like, your refrigerator can fucking listen to you. There will be a tipping point where people are like, okay, no, and then it'll go to court. And I think it'll at least get turned over in the sense that, look, you can't either give the refrigerator permission to spy on you or let all your food spoil. That's not fair. Chris would probably be the one to be able to negate or defend this. I mean, what do you guys think?
What defend that sort of thing? No.
Well,
I mean, all I know is if my refrigerator starts talking to me, I'm gonna throw that shit out, man.
Well, no, I mean, in the sense of, like, you buy an Xbox or a PlayStation and you have to sign up for these user end agreements, but you really don't have a choice because they're just holding your product hostage, as well as the hundreds of dollars of investments that go along with it.
With everything. My cell phone does it. I mean, they all say it. They said, hey, if you break this rule, we take everything away. You know, it's just the way it is. I mean,
unfortunately, that is the way it is. It's either, hey, you can either play this product by agreeing or not agree and waste your money. It sucks. I'm within that one, but we don't really have a choice, you know? That's just the way it is.
Well, I mean, there is a choice. You either use it or you don't.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You either use it or you don't. So if you bought it, you kind of don't have a choice.
There's been a precedent in courts if this thing if it gets fought. There've been precedents in court where people have gotten out from user agreements because they've ruled the user agreements are not fair or unconstitutional or not legally binding because they're unrealistic.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, and I mean, if there are any of these agreements that are really heinous like that, whenever one person figures this out or finds this out and spreads it around the internet, people will start boycotting this kind of stuff. And because it's bad for business if they have some, like, egregious thing like this implemented in their user agreement.
Yeah, I think if anyone found out that Sony was selling your information the same way that was happening between Facebook and that Cambridge, whatever, if they found out, that people would be in an uproar. That'd be it. They would, like, it's like, Kasserai better come over here and explain this shit to me. Or, yeah, and there would be class action lawsuits, whatever. Like, yeah, people wouldn't take that shit. There's no way. So I see what you're saying, but I think, like, that is only like attainable once the company has completely overstepped their bounds. Like, oh, well, you signed this thing, so I can do whatever I want. No, motherfucker, you can't, because the minute you start signing to third parties, and then everybody knows my business, and then I'm gonna have a problem with that, and so is everyone else. So you get sued in multiple courts. Like, I doubt it would just be us; it'd be Europe and Australia and everywhere.
I think it'll get worse before it gets better, but
yeah.
I think it'll eventually get better. I don't think you need to start combing through your user agreements with a fine-tooth comb, because you're just going to find you're fucked from every direction.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, man. Let's move on here to Mr. Damien, man. Actually, but before we do go on, Manny, I do need you to apologize to Damien for saying "shut the fuck up." That was not cool, man.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, come on now. You can say shut up, but not shut the fuck up. Sorry about that, Damien. Here's the thing. Damien gives us a lot of shit, but this dude, despite the fact that we disagree, he is loyal in his way. So we can't be treating him like that, Even when, Damien, you step out all over the line too, but we got to be better than that.
All right. I'm sorry, Damien.
All right, cool. Try to get that out there, man, because we're men. We own up to shit here. All right, so his first question, before that, Happy Easter, he wishes us. Thank you.
Happy Easter. Oh,
I had some pernil tonight, boy.
Wait, man, you breaking the law, man.
How am I breaking the law? I'm not religious.
Okay. You're breaking the law. You're breaking the law of God,
man.
But
fuck God.
We can eat meat on Sunday, though.
Yeah, we can.
It's technically
wait.
It's Friday. You can't eat meat.
Yeah, it's Friday.
I eat meat on Friday though.
Yo, man.
Yeah, but I'm not really. I'm not. Yeah, Jesus is gonna come and kill me.
Jesus is gonna come to your house. He's gonna tell you why he I don't know. Yeah. he died for your sins.
And then I'm like, yo, Jesus, man, what are you doing, man? You just got off your ship at Bath and Beyond, son. What's up? What you doing
Joke's
in my crib?
Y'all. You're celebrating a pagan fertility festival.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Hey, I'm not religious, so I don't care.
He's like, you see all these rabbits over there? This wasn't in.
Yeah, the rabbits.
How does Jesus make rabbits and eggs? Well, because spring and nature. That sounds a lot like Ishtar. Wait a minute.
Yeah, before
Ishtar, Easter. No. Jesus.
Yeah, before we offend any religious people, let's get to this man's questions. All right, so his first one is, with Metal Gear Solid 5 being the least remembered Metal Gear, do you think the high scores it received were because of the Konami versus Kojima drama? Very interesting question. No, I think it got high scores because it's a good game. The story was, not there. I will freely admit that. But the actual game itself, that was the best, mechanically speaking, Metal Gear game. It was the best out of all of them. You can't really argue that. So it got high scores because it was just a genuinely good game. I seriously doubt the Kojima Konami stuff had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think so. And then I don't think everybody just felt sorry for it, because if it was the Konami Kojima thing, then everybody would have given that shit a low rating just for that, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, they would have given it a low score just because it's a Konami game, right?
Yeah, a Konami game or something, because of what happened with them. No, I don't think so. I think it got it because it was a genuinely good controlling game, despite what you think. Whether you like or dislike the ending, it was a decent trip. I mean, granted, there's parts of it that feel like they might be unfinished, but you know what?
Oh yeah, like that second half, man. That was like, what is this? But again, even the missions in there, even though some of them got repetitive, they were still fun. It was one of those games. Like, I know I personally couldn't put it down until I got that fucking platinum. It was a lot of fun,
And to be honest, it also was probably one of the games that was the most absorbed a lot of people that weren't into Metal Gear itself. A lot of people who weren't into the Metal Gear franchise, found the game interesting and wanted to got them into the rest of the series.
Yeah, that is true. We don't really talk about that too often. Like, the game did get new Metal Gear fans in there.
There are it sounds weird to say, but there are people that are just specifically Metal Gear Solid 5 fans because of just the way the openness of the gameplay works. You being able to have multiple routes to get into a base, stuff like that. That introduced a whole new bunch of people to the franchise.
Was this the first mainline Metal Gear Solid game to be on multiple platforms?
No.
Was 4 multi-platform?
No, 4 was exclusive.
4 wasn't. But the previous Metal Gear game before it, Peace Walker was on multiple.
Yeah.
I have a question for Tony.
What up?
Does nostalgia have anything to do with the sales of and scores of this game?
Highly doubtful, because the game is very different than the other Metal Gear games. It doesn't play anything like them.
Each Metal Gear, one thing to know about Metal Gear games is that each one is essentially a somewhat new reinvention of over the last game.
Yeah, no Metal Gear game is the same as the previous one. So you can't say this game was nostalgic because it didn't play anything like even the previous game before that.
Didn't you say one of the reasons the new God of War was going to be partially successful was the nostalgia of the franchise?
I never said that. What are you talking about? I said
that's why. Okay.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Maybe I said something along the lines like it's people are hyped for it because of its legacy, but I don't think the game's obviously not a nostalgia trip because it's completely different mechanics now.
Yeah, and if we were going to go with nostalgia, how come God of War Ascension didn't do better?
Yeah,
because that game is pretty much God of War 3 with co-op in it. Exactly.
Not to go, but Brett, you're going to lead me down this rabbit hole now. Does God of War, the franchise, even qualify as being nostalgic? It's not that old. It's like, what, 10 years old, maybe? 10, 13 years old? 2005, right? I don't know if that counts as nostalgia yet, man, to be honest.
No, probably not. It's only, that is 13 years.
13, that's not 20 years. Oh, I'll give you that. 13, no. It's still fresh in people's memories,
Sort of to go to.
Not in the 20-year-olds, man.
I was 25 when I played it. I'm not nostalgic for the first game.
If you're 20,
yeah,
something from 13 years ago is something you played when you were 7.
Yeah, that is true.
When you were a kid and you're a grown ass adult now.
Well, that's what people were saying about the Call of Duty World War II and 3. They were like, "Oh man, we're going back to World War II. I've never played that game. What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Yeah, that was a long time ago."
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I don't think nostalgia has anything to do with Metal Gear specifically.
I don't think nostalgia has anything to do with it, but I do think the game is overrated in terms of its like Metacritic scores, because this thing is in the mid to low 90s, and I'm like, really, this one? I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't think
yeah.
it has to do with that with what Damien was talking about with the Kojima Konami feud either. So I don't know.
Yeah, but like I said this too. Even a weak Metal Gear game, because I was a weaker Metal Gear game, is still better than most other games out there. So, but again, it's me. You know me, Metal Gear man. But even a weak Metal Gear game is still better than actual like solidly, stupidly good games from other people. That's the power of Kojima right there, man.
Yeah, I mean the one that's considered the weakest by many is Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, and look at that game.
And that one is in a lot of ways is better than some people's games.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I mean, me personally, Metal Gear 5 was still the game of the year that year. 2015 it was.
I enjoyed it, and I feel like it. There's just a lot of questions that are just left unanswered. But I feel like at the end of the day, I was already to be honest, Metal Gear Solid 5 is borrowed time. Every single Metal Gear that came out after is as good as they were that were Kojima games after, those were borrowed time because the series ended at 4.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Moving on here. Okay. Do you think Hellblade will sell better on Xbox when it releases later this month versus the PS4? He says it took 3 months to sell 500,000 on PS4. That's pretty amazing. I didn't know it sold that many for an indie game. That's pretty damn good.
It had a lot of hype behind it, and I mean, granted, also Ninja Theory is masterclass. They do good games.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's gonna sell. I don't think it's gonna bomb on Xbox, but I don't think it's gonna sell as much as PlayStation for 2 reasons. One, the game is already old, and again, like we've been saying, this is not really this. Is there new content? If there is,
well, there's supposed to be enhancements, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for Xbox Xbox One X enhancements. It's got
the X. But no, I don't. And then like I always say, that's not exactly a game. Let's just be honest. For the Xbox fan base, very slow pace, very kind of boring, objectively speaking. To some people.
I'm inclined to agree. I mean, and I'm sure there is quite a bit of Xbox fans that really want to play it. But I also feel like that game kind of goes against the grain of a lot of what a lot of Xbox fans expect. And who knows, maybe people won't even want to play it because it was a former PlayStation game. I don't know.
Could be that too.
Can I just ask you guys something really quickly? Can you read the question out again? Because they said, was it 500,000 on the PS4?
500,000. He said it took 3 months to reach 500,000 on PS4.
Correction, PS4 and PC.
And PC.
And approximately half of those were PC. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say 300,000 on PS4. Just
okay.
Yeah. 300,000 on PS4 actually sounds more realistic. When I heard 500,000, I'm like, that's a lot for an indie game.
Yeah, that is a lot. So
do I need to say it?
Oh, go ahead.
Did you groan for the same reason that I groaned?
What's that?
Did you groan for the same reason that I groaned?
Yeah, probably.
Brett, me and you, man. It's like people that have their first names beginning with B and R. It's something.
Yeah. And the M for the last name too.
Yeah.
What were you guys groaning for? Because I'm T and P, so it's over my head. Whatever you guys were collectively thinking about.
I'll say this. Microsoft gamers tend to not have a lot of finesse. They miss narrative subtleties. And the games can be more egocentric than thematic, along with the fan base.
So you pretty much just said what me and Manny said, just fancier and more vague too at the same time.
I said it in a way that the people that I am discrediting shouldn't be able to decipher my comments.
Well, I said it. This is not a game. This is not a game for Xbox. I said it doesn't have guns. It doesn't have balls to the wall action. It doesn't have any of that stuff. Let's just be honest here.
Hey, Adam.
Okay, no, what I actually said
did
is
you like Hellblade? Did you play it?
No, I didn't want to play it. It just brought back bad memories, so I chose not to.
Okay. So there you
played
it.
Yeah.
I'm saying I just feel like it might be just a little bit too just I don't know. I want to say art. I want to say art. I want to say artsy.
Yeah, Manny. Remember we were talking to Riku yesterday? He is a PlayStation gamer. He was like, "Yeah, this game's too boring. I had to put it down."
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't into that because Riku's not in. Like Riku's into the game, the more of the gameplay aspects of things. He likes. I'm sure if Hellblade was a more of a less narrative and more combat and more interesting combat, he would have been definitely more interested in it. But then again, that wouldn't be the game Hellblade. That would be
something else. Yeah, remember Riku specifically called. I disagree with this, by the way, but Riku specifically said to him that's a walking simulator.
Yeah, he called Hellblade a walking simulator.
And I could see a lot of Xbox guys saying the exact same thing. You know?
All right, Brian's gonna be able to say it's way more tactfully than I can because of his British accent. Brian, will you please just throw it out there?
Okay, Brett, this is like one of the few times when our link is broken.
Just say what you gotta say, man. Say what you gotta say. Say what you gotta say.
Is it meant to be in the chat? Because I'm like playing some.
They still see it.
Yeah, they still see it. They still see it. They still see it on
chat. It'll just pop up on the bottom. So there's no mystery there.
We ain't hiding shit from you guys anymore, man.
Okay, Brett, I'm lost.
Just say it. Somebody fucking say it, please.
Say what? I don't know.
Xbox gamers are too dumb for this game.
Damn, Brett.
Wow. The views and opinions of
represented why they think
this is why they call us the Sony down, man.
There you go.
That's why we got the Sony down moniker.
I tried to say it nice. Y'all drug it out of me.
I mean, here's the thing. Brett Manny and I said it 5 minutes ago, but you kept pushing it.
All Americans are dumb and only like cowboys. Come on now.
Okay. Xbox gamers are like my dad. My dad loves what he calls popcorn movies. He likes Transformers. He likes movies with big explosions.
Your dad's a bro. He's a bro.
No. It's not that he's a bro. It's that he likes his entertainment to just be straightforward and fun. He doesn't want to search for hidden meanings. He doesn't want to unravel a story. He doesn't want to have to think about the movie the next day in the shower before he really understands the thematic implications of it. He does not like his entertainment to necessarily be deep. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because his life every day has a lot to do with, especially back in the day, his job was to get told to hire and fire people. And so it was really shitty and stressful, and he wanted to turn his brain off and not have a Dark Souls kind of world because that was just too stressful for him. And I understood that most clearly when I was going through the stuff with Rachel. So essentially what I guess I'm trying to say and I'm not doing a very good job because that was pretty bad. Xbox gamers don't care about the nuance of video games. They're going to look at Hellblade and be like, so I'm going through hell killing people? Like, there is metaphor, there's allegory, there's very nuanced things that are supposed to give you a very specific feeling. You're supposed to be immersed and let it envelop you. It's supposed to have you question ideas and see how these ideas apply to your life and to your knowledge of existing. It's philosophy. Xbox gamers do not generally care about that. We call them bro gamers, but they're popcorn gamers. They tend to like games that are very clearly, here's the thing that you do, look cool, big explosion, don't you feel powerful, let's move on. Or quick fun things or competitive things. They're not looking for a deep, nuanced story that makes them question the existentialist nature of the universe. That's not really their bag. That's not a lot of people's bags, but the people it is their bag, they're mostly on PlayStation.
I'm gonna say this. It's not to say that there are people on the Xbox that do enjoy those sorts of games. I definitely think that there are people that do, but at the same time, I do think that a lot. What was the Xbox originally built on? And if you go what it was built on, I think you can generally get a good idea as to what the fans of the Xbox will enjoy. So if Hellblade was a little bit more straightforward. Well, it is pretty straightforward, but a little bit less artsy, a little bit more gameplay oriented, a little bit more satisfying as far as giving you that punch in the face. I could see. Here's the interesting thing: I can see a game like the second God of War, or something like that, or even the God of War series surviving incredibly well on Xbox console just because of the way the game acts.
Because it's a power fantasy.
Because that's exactly it. It's a power fantasy. So if Hellblade, let's just say for the sake of conversation, was more of a power fantasy, something that empowered you. If Senua friggin' ripped people's faces off like fucking Kratos, I think, and it was just the stories. She has those problems, but that doesn't get in the way of her looking awesome. That's
exactly no. Hellblade makes you go out of your way to do the opposite. It makes you feel weak and powerless. The whole point of the game is to make it to the end before you inevitably unravel and die. Like you are going to die. You are not going to make it through this because you are weak and you cannot handle it. All you're trying to do is make it to the end of the quest before you die. It is the exact opposite of a power fantasy, and I'll be honest, it's a little disturbing, but it's supposed to be, and it makes you a little uncomfortable, but in kind of a good way. But it's not the come home from a hard day at the office and play that kind of thing.
For me, it was very difficult to play that game in one sitting because I just needed a break from the heaviness of it. I mean, the most disturbing portion of it, and I know people who have mental disorders and have heard voices in their head, and if any way you could explain that to somebody, what it's like to have all these different things firing off at your head at once, and you trying to go forward and do and try to get through what you need to get through. That it was a bit oppressive on me,
and that's why I avoid it. I mean, I know you guys use that same type of analogy with war movies and war games. You're like, well, I don't play war games because that shit really happened, and you shouldn't be playing that. Well, that's the way I feel about those mental illness.
Man, by the way, I never said that. I just said that shit is real is boring. I don't like real life shit like that.
Boring. Okay.
Yeah. No, I said it's real, so it's boring.
So,
understand?
So then this was too real, and it's not boring. It's just something that I had to deal with firsthand, and I just don't find that entertaining because I don't see any upside to it. In real life, there is no damn upside to that shit. It's very sad, depressing. We know people that are experiencing that, and it's fucked up.
Yeah, I can definitely agree, and I can see why because again, also when you're playing, for some people, playing games are more about, again, it's about that escapism. You're not you are this you're the hero that can save the galaxy. You're the guy that can win the war. You're the thing out there, and like having that sort of stuff can hit pretty hard and may make you even feel worse after you had a day of being depressed at your job or something like that. So I can definitely understand that sort of side of it. Oh, and the reason why I don't play war games is not because they're real. It's just I'm a little bit to the like of I'm not into the war part or the gun part of things. I like more games that are more with weaponry or physical action for some reason.
Century X, thank you for following us on Twitch, man. Appreciate that. My thing is, it's again, because it's real. Like I liked Resistance. This is a war game with fucking aliens. Like, okay, there's the hook right there. Aliens, let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, hey, is World War II your soldier? I'm like, who cares? Where's the monsters? Where's the shit?
I feel like you're also like that a lot in some ways with movies.
Oh yeah, I will watch a war. I will watch a war movie though. I will watch a war movie though. In war documentaries, I like that shit. But in the game, it's like, no, I need some more fantastical shit.
But for Hellblade, I feel like there is also semi two ways you could read it, which also made it very interesting. Where it's like, okay, you could see it at the level of she is mentally mentally has mental issues, or you could see it the other way around, where she's actually seeing into another world, where she is in a fantasy. She is in this fantasy realm. So the fantasy realm could either way, it could be real, or it could be a total fantasy realm on
Very interesting.
That is super intentional, and like that's a classic theme that goes all the way back to The Lady and the Tiger, though, and that's my point exactly. Like when I talk about thematics, I know I'm a bit of a story nerd sometimes on this. You guys should hear me break down movies sometimes, but that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, is that idea of whether if you have one foot in one boat and the other foot in the other boat, and they keep you guessing the whole time. Like there's a very specific reason they didn't tell you that. That is not super obvious to people who don't notice or care about that kind of thing. To people casually approaching this game, they're like, yeah, she's crazy. Like they don't take the time to sit down and think about, like, well, is she crazy? Because this evidence says she is, but this evidence says she's not. And the closer you look, the fuzzier the line gets.
So you think that if someone hears voices in their head, they're crazy?
No, I mean in the context of this game, where they're trying to express that her psychosis. I think that they're just trying to what it could be her it could be some sort of psychosis that she has, or it could be something that, or it could just be that she is hearing the voices of these.
They literally say that she is a psychic, like she's a seer, a wisdom, like she connects with the spirit world, but also that she is mentally ill. They say that she is both, but they frame she's a psychic in such a way that it culturally, like, do they just say that people that hear voices are psychic, or is she actually psychic? Because we know that she hears voices. We know that even when they say, like, you're a psychic, but you also hear these voices, you're also crazy. So we at least know that she's crazy. That's the one thing that we know. Then that it has us questioning the whole time, though, whether, like, because we know that she's crazy, is she also psychic? Is she crazy because she's psychic? Is she not psychic at all? And then there are these moments where the voices know things that you shouldn't know. And so you start to question, like, what is reality? The game does a very good job of playing into what is reality. You yourself, the player, don't know. And again, that's very, it's subtle enough to be overlooked. I can't tell you how many, and I cannot believe this, I cannot tell you how many people I've even talked to that played BioShock that didn't realize the "would you kindly" was just a very light metaphor about you, the player, doing whatever the fuck anybody tells you, no matter how horrible it is.
But you see that game in a lot of ways, and that was also a very popular game on Xbox, was a game that was this deeper story was hidden behind the veil of this very power fantasy oriented game.
But how many people miss that deeper story?
I did. I don't know. When I beat the game, I'm like, what the fuck did I just play right now? You know, I was the same way. By the way, not to derail, and we are about to move on soon, where Hellblade actually took it a completely different way. To me, I don't think she was crazy at all. I think it was just the gods fucking with her head. Like, all this shit you saw was actually real. It was just, like, whenever it got warped, it was just the gods using magic to manipulate it. It made it more interesting to me, because I'm like, if she's really mentally deranged, I'm like, that doesn't really appeal to me. But if the gods are fucking with her, that's more interesting. And to me, I did feel like a badass when I was killing all those motherfuckers. So to me, that game was a power fantasy. I'm like, I'm a badass chick, and I'm killing all these motherfuckers.
But I mean, you're not a power fantasy as far as friggin' Kratos is.
No, not on that level. But when I was fighting fucking I'm not gonna give up. When I was fighting the fire god, I'm like, yo, I felt like I'm badass. Taking that motherfucker down, Surtur. That was good shit.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the genius. At least the genius I found out about the game, where you could read it in multiple different ways.
Yeah, that's how I read out. I'm like, because everybody says, Sunny has mental problems. I guess she doesn't have mental problems. It's just the gods fucking with her.
That's why I would say it was a little too. It'd probably be a little bit too arty for the folks that are just more into more gameplay oriented games that if you play through it. And if you're, you get the general idea of the story, you don't need to if you don't want to go that deep, you can just be like, all right, bam, there you go.
Yeah. All right, man, let's move on here.
And it's a slower game. For a lot of time, she can't run that fast. She runs slow. I feel like, again, like for an Xbox fan, if the game was a little bit more balls to the wall, a little bit more powerful, I would definitely think that would be more of an interest within the Xbox realm.
Yeah. All right, man. Life and Times podcast, Mr. Wiz. Man, he's trying to get us in trouble here, man.
Oh, is he trying to get us in trouble? What's he trying to say?
Hey, who was worse in their last 4 years with their brand? Satoru Iwata or Philip Spencer? Come on, son. Just try to get us in trouble here, man.
So Iwata in his last years.
Yeah, who was worse for their respective companies, Iwata
Phil
or Spencer?
Wait. Phil Spencer.
Microsoft,
The
Xbox.
new guy, the new guy, right?
Yeah.
Not the old guy.
No, the current guy. That's why I'm like, why did you throw Don Mattrick in here? He's, he actually is documented to fuck up.
That's what I'm saying. I would blame Don, not
Phil Spencer is doing Phil Spencer is doing his best, man.
He's doing the cleanup work.
Yeah.
I feel like Don is the biggest offender.
Wiz, forgive me. I'm gonna switch your question around. Who was worse for their company, Iwata or Mattrick? Don Mattrick.
That's a difficult one. Because you're feeling sorry for because there's the legacy of the things that the good things that Iwata did, and then the fact that he passed away.
Well,
what are the legacy of Don Mattrick's good things again?
Yeah, he doesn't have any. Like that. Here's the problem with Mattrick versus Iwata. Iwata actually created stuff. Iwata was also president for one of the most successful consoles in history, which is the Wii, also the DS and all this stuff. Don Mattrick doesn't have any worthy legacy at all, and he was able to shoot Xbox One in the foot out the gate. Right, that's his legacy.
Like Don Mattrick, here's the thing: like a lot of people give Don Mattrick the credit for Xbox 360, which he actually came in after all of those things were set in motion. So, but he still gets the credit for a lot of the success.
Yeah, a lot of the fans actually want him back, believe it or not.
Yeah, because he was there underneath that time.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of that stuff was already set into motion even before he even sat down in the seat.
I mean, think about this. Like, if Don Mattrick had this great legacy in video games, wouldn't he be picked up by another huge studio? Like, wouldn't EA or Activision pick this guy up if he was so brilliant or did so? No one picked. He went to Zynga after at Microsoft. All right, he went to a trash fucking game company afterwards. So that says it all. I mean, you get a guy like Peter Moore after Sega. He went to EA. Right? Like that's how they jump in the industry. When you make big contributions in one, usually you're picked up by another big publisher or big company. Like nobody wanted Mattrick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with Iwata then.
Yeah,
Iwata's the man.
But he wasn't the worst though.
No, he wasn't the worst. Sorry, I mean the worst would have to be Don Mattrick.
Yeah, exactly. Don Mattrick was way worse. Again, yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's a situation where Iwata came over, upper decked your upstairs toilet, and made some inappropriate remarks to some of your house guests. Don Mattrick just came in drunk shit on the floor, but at least Iwata brought the keg. So they both did shitty things, but one of them did a couple redeeming things. So by default, I guess.
Yeah, by default.
So my answer is not Don Mattrick.
Your answer is Don Mattrick.
My answer is to who's worse, I guess, would be Don Mattrick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know why you threw Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer's actually doing good. I know he's had to cancel games, but I think he's actually trying his best. But certainly better than fucking Don Mattrick. Don Mattrick's like, oh, this is an Xbox for it's the one, it's everything. And if you don't have internet connection, I get a 360. Phil Spencer's like, we're making a fucking video game console. He brought it right back. What the hell
do you do when you inherit a dumpster fire?
Yeah, it's like
you try and put it out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he shot that thing in the foot in one conference. That's all it took.
Yeah, the reveal of the fucking console.
Yeah. He insulted fans and really, like he's bringing, Steven Spielberg's going to work on Halo TV at Verizon, all this shit. I didn't buy a cable box, motherfucker. I want to know about a console.
Yeah, like what if they went out? What if they went out on the field with essentially just it's like the same thing that you were getting from Xbox 360, but even better.
It would have been a much closer generation.
I think it would have been a much closer generation. I feel like they alienated a lot of people with that. Here's the thing. What do you think, Damien? You're a big Xbox fan, and also the other Xbox fans listening. What do you think? Do you like the direction that everything has gone? prior, before Phil took over?
All right.
By the way, Wiz asked that question. I don't know if that's.
Well, Manny's asking now, throwing that fans out to the question out to the fans. Do you think Phil Spencer is better than Don Mattrick? That's not really much of a question, but I want to know. Because apparently there are some Xbox guys that want Mattrick back because they're like, oh, he was in the 360 era. That was the glory age, man. Or whatever. All right, let's move on, man. Black Metal Gamer. So his first question is, do you think Capcom is done with fighting games for a few years since the last two games sold so poorly? No, they're probably going to keep on making fighting games, man.
No, they're going. I mean, they're going to keep on making them.
Yeah,
I think they just learned their lesson over these last ones.
Yeah,
I don't think they have. I don't.
I mean, especially since I'm not saying especially the lessons that they learned to kind of from Monster Hunter, just essentially giving the fans exactly what they wanted with this sort of things, as well as not trying to half-ass you with a bunch of microtransactions.
Yeah, actually, I'd say they give the fans more than they wanted because I don't think Monster Hunter fans counted on all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's true. But apparently, from what I understand, like the Monster Hunter team is kind of separate from Capcom. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, because they make money.
Oh,
I don't know. With the lackluster success of Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and I know a lot
not
of people
a Capcom game. Just throwing it out there. Not a Capcom game.
I know.
No, because Brett, this is the internet. You know what's going to happen.
I'm making the correlation. I'm swinging back into the correlation here. I don't know if traditional 2D fighting games sell enough to be tentpole games for publishers anymore. Like, I don't know that Capcom can continue to rely on Street Fighter the way that it used to, because I feel like that genre is becoming more and more niche.
Yeah, it's been niche for a while. Like, those games still sell.
It's been niche for a while, but okay, so that still says the same thing. Like, I don't expect Capcom to put all of their money and their best team on Street Fighter, honestly, ever again. I think it'll be a strong side project for them, but I don't think it'll ever be a first priority for them again.
How do you know how do you know they didn't have how do you know that they don't even currently have their best team on it?
Because I feel like it would be a waste of resources.
No, I mean, in other words, they could already have the bare bones team on there.
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying is I think that it's gonna kind of stay. Like, they may change it a little bit. They may put a little bit more effort into it and try and listen to fans more, but they're not gonna overhaul Street Fighter to massive success the way that Capcom reached critical success with Monster Hunter. You're talking about two inherently different things. Like, even if they listen to the consumers,
but at least get it to a point.
Fighting games in general are never going to reach the heights they did in the 90s. That's just not going to happen anymore.
But at least get it to the point of something like a Tekken.
Tekken
is their direct competition, and something that is like if you know something is wrong if something is wrong if at least a Street Fighter game is not at least overtaking a Tekken game.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, just to quickly correct you, Brett, you said, before I go on, you said no 2D fighting game is going to be that big anymore, right?
Not big enough to be a publisher's tentpole series, no.
What do you say about Mortal Kombat? The last Mortal Kombat game sold, like, I think the last one sold 10 million. That's a 2D fighting game, too. Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Warner Bros. NetherRealm Studios.
I mean,
any game would want to sell 10 million copies.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. And I guess maybe that's the exception to the rule.
But here's the thing, and this is the thing we've all been saying about Mortal Kombat. What did they do that a certain Street Fighter game did not do?
It had a shit ton of content.
It had a bunch of content that did not only cater to guys that were playing in fighting game tournaments.
Yes, exactly.
Everybody else. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about the characters or any of these other, all these other little side quests and all kinds of other really interesting things, that's what they did. They gave you, the gamer, a lot more than just a game that you fight in.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of interesting backstory to Mortal Kombat and its world and its characters that isn't there with Street Fighter.
Yeah. Also, by the way, just to throw it in there, the other fighting game that sold millions and millions, also by Warner Brothers, also another realm, Injustice, 2D, but again, same thing, characters, story.
Yeah, they gave people they gave a person who is just a person who just saw out there a lot more within the game than just the thing, than just like punching game.
Yeah, when Street Fighter 5 came out, it was only catered to the FGC guys, the hardcore guys. Mortal Kombat came out, it was catered to everybody. That's the key difference.
I might even say that's why Smash Brothers does well, is because characters you already know and love.
And not to mention all the extras that you have in Super Smash Brothers. You had in one of the games they had that side-scrolling beat 'em up portion of the game, or even just playing the game long enough and earning all those trophies, or earning little trophies, or earning those other things inside of the game. There was all this other content that's in there that you don't need. It's not just that fighting game.
Yeah, and I also think even though it's not a 2D fighting game, I also believe Soul Calibur 6 is going to do really well because Soul Calibur always has a shit ton of content in it.
The weapons masters mode is probably the best portion of that game. Just being able to earn new abilities and earn new weapons and outfits and artwork and all that stuff is already set in stone, and that should be the par for the course. Guilty Gear does it. I'm not gonna say Guilty Gear is not doing in gangbusters, but at least they're doing enough to survive to make the next goddamn game.
Yeah, exactly. And let's just be honest. One of the reasons Dragon Ball failed, actually the biggest reason Dragon Ball failed, was those servers were fucked up.
That didn't help. But let me ask you, Street Fighter fans. I mean, I'm a Street Fighter fan, but the big Street Fighter fans in the room, this question then: would you be okay with Street Fighter getting the Mortal Kombat treatment? Moving out of the cartoony art style, going into a fully fleshed, rendered 3D looking environment with
that's not what's leading to success. Okay, if Street Fighter 5 launched the way Street Fighter is now, it would have been a success because it has the story mode, has arcade mode, has all this shit. The art style is not even the issue here. No one really cares about the art style. It was the lack of content. It was the lack of content. No one is complaining about that shit.
Nobody's complaining about it, but those cartoon style, those anime style fighting games, and I kind of counted amongst that same Darkstalkers kind of thing, they have a limited appeal. Are you really telling me that if you didn't give it the Mortal Kombat treatment that you wouldn't get more mass audience appeal?
Yeah, I disagree with that because the thing is, Street Fighter doesn't even look like a cartoon. It's stylized 3D graphics. It's in between 3D and 2D. You know what I mean? Dragon Ball looks like a cartoon. Guilty Gear looks like a cartoon. Street Fighter does not look like a cartoon. It looks like a stylized.
I think if you made it glossy and put a bunch of lighting effects on it and shit like that, and gave it the Mortal Kombat thing, you might actually get a better. You might actually get better reception.
Didn't the Naruto games do really well, and they were all
that is true. That is true.
Cel-shaded 3D.
Yeah, that is true.
What games?
The Naruto games, and the Bleach games too also do really well.
Yeah. Do they really?
Yeah,
yes.
And they make them look like the anime.
Again, the art style is not the reason Dragon Ball.
Really well. Okay, really well in like how many what kind of numbers are we talking? We say really well, like really well for a fighting game, or really well period.
Oh no, it's probably really well for a fighting game. Let's just be honest here. They're not selling Horizon numbers. We ain't getting there.
But you also got to look at how much money is actually being put into those Naruto games to put them out. So. They're not nearly. I'm sure Street Fighter had way more of a budget than those Naruto games, and I'm sure Dragon Ball Z Fighters had.
Yeah, again, the big thing that kept Dragon Ball Z back was not the art style. People liked the art style. It was the fact that you couldn't play online. That was the biggest thing that hurt that game. All right. Yeah, but Capcom will continue doing fighting games. Don't even sweat it. The next question is, what games had endings that you wish were different?
Mass Effect 3.
Shit. Damn. Mass Effect 3. Fuck. Metal Gear Solid 5.
Bloodborne.
Whoa, really? Bloodborne?
Yeah, Bloodborne. Like its endings were all kind of. They were cool. They were just all very melancholy.
Yeah, but the whole game is melancholy and shit.
Dude, the whole game is melancholy, but one of the things I love about the Souls games, at least, is while you're having a really melancholy feeling and the game feels almost oppressive in its darkness, towards the end of the game, it rolls into power fantasy because you're like, oh man, this thing that used to be so horrifying before, like, I own this world. You are all my bitches. So, like, you kind of end the game on this towering level of badassery. And in the Souls games, it makes sense. You rekindle the flame, or you bring the age of darkness. Like, it's epic. None of the Bloodborne endings, they were all kind of mundane as well as melancholy. Like, yeah, like you could get spoiler, but Born is a great one, but it wasn't epic. You were just this weird little squid thing, or you just you kind of just wake up.
Here's the thing, like, you know, the thing is, you also got to remember that your character was there to do something for themselves. They had the incurable disease. So what was the endings that you were thinking of? It's like when he wakes up officially, when your character wakes up, your character wakes up and then doesn't know why they were even there. I mean, and then also the squid ending is essentially ultimate enlightenment. Everyone wanted to become the old ones.
Yeah, kind of. I guess
then the other one is just the one. If you decide to take Gehrman's place, you become a prisoner forever.
And that's, I guess, my problem. Like, do you guys know about the hero's journey, the classic story wheel?
Oh yeah, there is the hero's journey, but you can obviously see that this game is not following the hero's journey at all.
No, I know, and I think that's what bothers me, is because for those that don't know, the end of the hero's journey is that they return to a world that they once knew but have now changed it, having gained knowledge and lost something or paid a price for it. And the problem is that there's no way to end that game that you've actually really changed the world. You've become a prisoner of it, you've escaped it, or you've become part of it, but you haven't changed it. You're still stuck in the cycle. And I know that that's a theme of Souls games, but I don't know why that game specifically made me feel like there was nothing you could do to change the world or the cycle. You could run from it or be part of it.
You can run from it. Yeah, you could run for it or become part of it or rise above it. But you could never fix it.
I didn't see that as rising above it necessarily.
You become the next evolution, which is what everybody in the game wanted to achieve.
It's what they wanted to achieve, but it's also just you're being puppeted by the gods. Essentially, you've just become the evil, the eldritch. You walk into a broken feudal system and you've become a corrupt lord. That doesn't mean the broken feudal system is any more fixed. You've just gotten on the right side of it. And I'm not saying that's bad. Some of the best stories are tragedies, but if we're talking about things that I would have honestly liked to have seen different, I would have liked to have seen a way to break the cycle like the Souls games give you.
All right, Manny, game ending.
Game ending that I would have changed. I would have changed. You know, I mean, you guys have said Mass Effect 3, but yeah. I didn't have any issues with that ending for the one reason, because it's just like it was or everything. The one thing about Mass Effect, at least for me, it was just like I kind of realized a long time ago, you're essentially doing the same. You're, no matter what road you pick, you're essentially doing the same thing, just with a different script. You know?
Yeah.
So
that wasn't the issue, though. The issue was like,
it's like
all three were exactly the same. Like when they fixed it, I'm like, okay, that's what we kind of wanted in the first place.
No, I mean, I appreciate the fix, but I didn't have a problem with the first original thing either, because it's like, okay, what are we doing? Saving the galaxy. Okay, we save the galaxy, or we don't.
My thing was the inconsistencies. Like, they blew up the mass relay. So I'm like, but you guys already established, if you blow up a mass relay, you blow up the solar system that it's in. so blowing up every mass relay in the galaxy, you just extinguished all life in the galaxy. Yeah. Stupid. You know?
I definitely understand. Let's see. As far as endings, though, in a video game, I actually would go to a game like LA Noire. I didn't.
Yeah, that ending.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm gonna go with LA Noire because I feel like with a game that there's some. It seems like you're in control over quite a bit of Cole's life, at least when he's doing his detecting. But then there's this other part of his life that you have nothing to do with, and that
His
you have
personal life. Yeah,
his
that was
personal life. You have absolutely no choice as to what he does. Even if you decide to pursue the other, what's her face, like you can pursue. They only give you that thing where you can pursue what's her face, and they don't even give you the other side of it with his wife. It's just like, okay, cheat on this wife that you didn't know exists, that you barely see in the game.
Yeah. And he loves kids and all that stuff. I'm like, shit. If there was an option, it was like, oh, either go with the singer or stay with your family. I would have just picked stay with your family. You got kids and shit. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, hey, wait, I didn't choose that. What are you doing, Cole? Stop doing that. Okay, so yeah, I would say that ending I would have changed. I mean, I don't mind the fact that they give you that kind of ambiguous ending if he died or didn't die. I don't mind that. I just mind the fact that he just started doing a bunch of shit that I didn't tell him to do.
Yeah, Adam.
That was pretty much would have been mine because that really got me. I'm trying to think any other endings. I mean, one I guess it wasn't too bad, but I just expected a little more. Was The Last of Us? That ending, I don't know why I felt like I should have been like one of those options or something. It just I don't know. It felt.
You mean the choice to tell her or not tell her?
Yeah. I just felt like there should have been more to it, but yeah, for me it would have been that one. But I liked it. I still liked the ending. I just felt like it felt incomplete.
I like that it for me. I like that it kept it open. Well, not open, but like in other words, there's a it's just unresolved.
Because I mean, yeah, but if we go based off, I mean, I'm not spoiling it, but based off of that ending, then she should be super pissed.
If she finds out.
If she ever finds out, but I feel like she does kind of know.
I think she knew too. Yeah, it was unsaid between them. Brian, story ending changing.
It's really hard to say, but I say God of War. Like they should have not had the very. Oh, sorry, God of War 3. They like as much as I love that game, they should have not had the ending where the body disappears. They should have just left it there and then we wouldn't get no God of War sequels.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but in my opinion, Kratos' story like ended with God of War 3. Like he got his vengeance. It was unsatisfying, and he had no choice what he did, and that's it. Like to me, that's a fine story. Like it's okay to have the hero die. Well, the anti-hero die. It's fine. But no,
can't rain all the time.
Right, Carlos, man.
I kind of always had issues with the Halo 2 ending.
All the Halo endings don't make sense.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Halo 2 was such a freaking good ass game, and then you got into the point where you're like, okay, we're about to head down and fuck these people up, and what's it called? Master Chief is in a ship, in a spaceship, and he's like, and then he's talking to Cortana. He's like, so what are you gonna do? And he's like, gonna finish this fight, and then it just ends. You're like, you're in such a freaking high, and the game just ends. So it does a good thing of sort of making you want to play the sequel, but as a standalone ending, it's kind of like, man, I just wish it didn't end here.
There seemed like there was a lot that seemed to happen between there. Like he leaves off with that stupid squid at the end, and you're like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's fight the." Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, because I think that's.
Yeah, let's fight this giant squid monster.
Then it ends.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
and then wait, the other one that he's just in a tube in space in third.
That's 3. Yeah.
When they find
what are you?
It's like spin-offs. The spin-offs kicked off during that time.
ODST and Reach.
Brett, what was your part B to this question?
I was going to ask what the opposite was. Like, what is?
I didn't answer you.
Oh, I thought you did. Go ahead, Chris.
No. I was gonna say because Carlos had my answer, so I'll go with the last episode of Half-Life 2.
Oh,
Because yeah, the biggest gaming blue balls left in history, and it had no closure, and we'll never, I guess, we'll never get one. And my second one would be Batman: Arkham Asylum, because the whole buildup of the game and all the stuff Joker does to you, and then the end is just him hulking out with Titan, and then you fighting him in a duel.
yeah, that was cheesy. That was stupid. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That was stupid. By the way, can I throw in Red Dead Redemption?
Oh no, that was awesome. Come on now.
No, this is why, because when it was like 15 guys, they were all ready to shoot you. I did the fucking deadlock on all those motherfuckers, right? Like, brrr, and then they still killed me. I'm like, what? Come on, you could have at least given me an ending where I did kill those motherfuckers, you know?
Yeah.
But that's all. I'm like, come on, man, I killed them in the actual game.
That's the ludonarrative dissonance.
Exactly. I'm like, I killed you. I was so
It had to go that way.
Yeah,
it had to go. But then that would just lead the ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Like
why.
I understand what they were doing, and I'm not getting mad. But I kind of wish there was a little bit of an alternate, just so I could get the satisfaction of killing all those guys. You know,
An extra cutscene.
Yeah. Anyway, so what was your part B, Brett?
I'm curious about the opposite. Like, I don't want to say satisfying, because I don't mean satisfying like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. You see so many guys I blew up, but like well-written endings. Are there any games that the ending was so good that it almost made the game for you? The best example I would give is personally Infamous 1 with Kessler.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like that was so good. It kind of, while I enjoyed the rest of the game, it made the journey so much more worth it.
Okay, you know what? In that spirit, this is going to be a controversial one. I'm going to go with Dragon Age 2. I didn't like most of that game. I was very annoyed by it. But that ending was so good, it redeemed the entire game for me, despite the fact that I didn't like most of it. But that ending was so fucking good. I'm like, okay, I get it now. I get what you guys are trying to go for. This is fucking awesome. So yeah, that was one for me. It redeemed the whole game. But if you were asking me what's just your favorite game ending, you already know, people. Metal Gear Solid 3, man, that ending fucked me up. When you find out what really happened, oh my! But the game was already so good that ending just made it better. You know what I mean? It had already reached saturation point at that point. But anyway, yeah. Saturation. But yeah, let's keep with that. The game that you thought was just okay or maybe kind of bad, with that ending came, it's like, oh shit, this is awesome. All right, Manny. So what about you? Have anything like that?
An okay game that had a better ending.
Had a really good ending.
Or just a game that had a really good ending, but I don't want to hear about like, oh, the whole game was just awesome. I mean, like, the ending has to be. I'll take Tony's Metal Gear because the ending was fucking awesome, even though that was on par with the rest of the game. But I don't mean a game that was just really good or you blew a lot of shit up, but like the game with the best ending.
Oh, objectively, okay. If it's objectively, then it is going to be Metal Gear. I thought it was like an ending that redeemed the game.
It doesn't have to be redeeming, no, like, because I loved all of Infamous, but even aside from that, like that ending was such a good twist.
That ending was so fucking good, man.
I was just like, oh, hey, look, I get to become a more interesting character at the end.
I become more interesting in 30 years.
I become a more interesting character, just than some gravelly guy with a bald head.
Yeah. Anyway, man, go ahead.
Let's see, satisfying ending. I mean, there's so many games that I think had a good endings and satisfying endings. So
we got to pick one then.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. You may have to come back to me.
All right, Chris.
Going with Mass Effect 2, because on your way through the collector's ship, think about this, that from top to bottom, that was like the best stunt thing, where you're commanding your crew, you got to pump them up, and you're trying to get them through the ship without dying, right? And it all depended on what you did through the whole game. So where Mass Effect 3 completely dropped the ball on that, Mass Effect 2 ending was fantastic. It was a fantastic game, period. But that ending was the cherry on top of the.
That was
okay. So now we're actually adding the gameplay portion, because if that's the case, my answer is still Metal Gear Solid 3, because the final fight is boss, right? And what you get, like you beat your mentor. She's laying on the ground, and Snake's holding that gun above her head. The game doesn't like do a cutscene where you shoot her. You have to pull that fucking trigger. I'm like, oh my motherfucking god.
Let's add another caveat just so Tony can still say Metal Gear Solid 3.
Shit. It just proves how amazing that game is, man. You know?
Out of any game that needs a remake, that would probably be the one.
Well, they already got the remake.
No.
Pachinko for
the Pachinko game. No, but I mean, anything to do like Ready at Dawn to do the little magic where they have the original game running with some fancy graphics on top. That would be a good one.
Not Ready at Dawn, Manny.
Not Ready at Dawn. I mean, Blue Point. Sorry,
yeah, Blue Point.
They need to do that to the first one. It, honestly, like,
oh yeah. Well, the first one needs a lot more work than just
Gear Solid 1. Let me tell you, man. I'll stop right now because I go on a whole thing about Metal Gear Solid 1. That one, Metal Gear Solid 3 and 1, classic fucking games, man.
Mind you, the two games that don't need the previous games to work.
Yeah, exactly. They're standalone games. You know? Just the setup of Metal Gear Solid 1 fucked me up. You know, like the whole oh, these motherfuckers had a nuclear bomb in Alaska. They're gonna blow shit up. Like, damn, this is crazy. You know. Anyway, Mr. Romero.
BioShock Infinite or BioShock, the first one. Both of them had great endings. It's
BioShock Infinite had a really good fucking ending. The gameplay ending was not good when you decided to kill 50 million motherfuckers. As a matter of fact, that's another one of those games. I thought BioShock Infinite was just okay. Then the last 20 minutes, I'm like, oh my fucking god, this is insane. You know?
Yep. Yeah, especially when they start giving you some of like the backstory of like why the whole thing is the way it is.
Yeah, man.
And you're like, god damn. And then you go to the lighthouses and you're like, what the fuck is this? And yeah, man, that was a great fucking ending. Yeah, so BioShock BioShock and BioShock Infinite. I'll just say BioShock Infinite.
Apologies to BioShock 2.
Yeah. We don't talk about that.
All right, Brian, man.
I'm surprised that you all missed this one. Spec Ops: The Line.
Never played
I don't think a lot of us played Black Ops.
Never played that. So
Spec Ops.
Really?
Spec Ops Line.
Oh, you guys are missing out. Like that game is a nice subversion of like all action like shooting games.
That was the one with the PTSD, right? But the guy had PTSD and some stuff going on, and it was.
I don't want to spoil the ending, but yeah, there was some stuff going on. It pretty much begged into like motion. Like, hey, you like playing shooting games? Yes. Then keep in mind that this is shooting games, and what the hell is happening?
It's Would You Kindly?
Yeah, I think. Is it based on Apocalypse Now or something like that?
It's based on the original book, you know.
The Heart of Darkness.
Yeah,
that's the one. It was really good. Like, I didn't think that much until I actually played it like for the second time. Because first time around, I'm like, okay, it's just a alright game, nothing exciting. And then I played again, I'm like, oh, now all this weird stuff makes sense. Like, okay, this is something. But then no one's had to play it. But you should, like, you know how Brett is always like, hey, you should play Singularity. You should play Singularity. Like, Brian says, you should play Spec Ops.
Hey, the only reason I didn't throw Singularity in this is because I'd have to explain my answer and I'd ruin the story for everybody.
Yeah, you don't want to do that, you know.
God damn.
No, I'm holding out hope that one of you motherfuckers will eventually play this.
I will play it, Brett. I'll play it before I watch Moonlight.
Oh man, yeah, Brian's he's the backlog guy. He'll probably do it. Adam.
I thought we did, Mark.
Did you? What was it?
Best? The best ending?
Yeah.
Shit. The best ending. I guess it would have to be Gears of War 3. Because it actually ended. You know, it didn't leave off of like, what if? No, it was like, you know what? He took the bandana off, and he put it down and he got with the chick and he looked off at the ocean. He was like, yeah, this is done. And you're waiting for something to happen. I was like, nope, roll the credits. They have the ocean view. It's done. Goodbye. Go play something else.
And go play Gears of War 4 to see what happens next.
It didn't leave off like a cliffhanger the first two.
There was no intention. Like, there's no way you were like, yeah, they're going to make another one. The first one had the cliffhanger. 2 also had the cliffhanger. But 3 was like, yeah, we're done. Goodbye.
Or Cliffy's done.
Cliffy's, but it made me happy because I felt like, all right, I did the trilogy. It's done. It's not one of those like, oh, here's sort of a trilogy. Da da da. Now you got to go buy some more shit next year. No.
All right, Manny, you finally come up with something?
I would say Metal Gear 3, but I'm also going to say God of War, the original one.
Ah, yes.
The end of the beginning.
Yeah, I call that the Conan ending. You know,
I mean, it's essentially it is the hero's journey ending too, where he ends up back where he was at the end, and he becomes a much better, he's better than he was before.
The gods have abandoned.
Yeah, the gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
Fucking awesome. All right, where the fuck are we right?
Top 3 antagonists and protagonists.
Yeah. Okay, Dip Dupity, man. Okay, who are your top 3 most relatable antagonists or protagonists that could be seen as evil or immoral, like Joel?
I feel like we did this one too.
Yeah, but it has to be from this generation.
From this generation?
Yeah.
That could be like Joel. I mean, you did mention one right there.
Joel's from last generation. Let's just be honest.
Joel is from last generation. Antagonists that could be seen as antagonists
or protagonists.
Antagonists or protagonists.
Either or. It has to be this generation. Here's the thing. Just to say this, and actually, it's funny. I was thinking about this last night. In general, movies, games, whatever, I never identify with any character. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, that character is cool, whatever. But I'm me. No characters like me. So relating, that doesn't really exist. But for this generation, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I mean, you can see like you can understand why the bad guy's bad because
I can understand that, but that's not like, to me, relatability is like that guy's like me, or maybe I'm thinking about it too much,
You're thinking too much.
Yeah, I've become like you, Brett, in this instance.
Relatable just means that you can relate to their motives, not with their entire character.
I don't know. But again, I still don't know how to answer this question for this generation.
Well, this is weird because for me, I would say my favorite is from The Division, but he doesn't really play a key part. He doesn't have a character. Like, he's not a voice. It's just an NPC sort of. It's weird. It's like I'm him, but I'm not him. There's no dialogue for him. You know what I mean? I'm just the Joe.
Yeah, like this is like 2 generations ago. I could be like, yeah, I relate to Kratos, I guess. The anger and shit. You know. But I don't know for this generation specifically, because the thing we were also asked a question later on, kind of related to this. I'm having a hard time answering that one too.
Tony, what about the assassins?
What do you mean? They're just assassins. They kill people and they dress in white.
But do you think that they have noble motives? Do you think that they're the good guys?
Not really. I think they're both fucked up. I think the assassins and the Templars are fucked up.
See, that's the thing. Party people, Tony doesn't necessarily ask too many questions. He just accepts the world for what it is in video games. He goes, okay, and moves along with it.
Pretty much.
So Tony's going to be tough to answer this because he doesn't see the world in good guys and bad guys. He just sees the world of guys doing stuff.
Yep, pretty much. Brett knows me better than I know myself, apparently. But yeah, again, if it was older games, I could name you some characters. This generation, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with that. Like, what stories from this generation were dope? I don't know.
I mean, didn't you like what it was? You were really big into the Watch Dogs too, right? And his story. But
it's just whatever,
But I'm thinking what he's trying to say is like, was that the type of protagonist where you're like, yeah, I want to see a sequel with him in it?
No, he was just a vessel,
He was just a vessel.
What about Nathan Drake?
He's the last generation. And I would have, said, no, but the Uncharted 4 doesn't count. I would have said Nathan, because this question is character from this generation. So I'm saying
so a character that was created specifically this generation.
Exactly.
Oh, specifically for
this generation? And that's the thing. A lot of the games I've played this generation are sequels.
You know what? I mean, I would actually. Well, I mean, I would have say Senua from Hellblade.
She's not evil though.
No, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
It does.
No, it doesn't. No. Antagonist or
who are your
protagonist?
Top relatable antagonists or protagonists that could be seen as evil or immoral.
Okay, evil. Okay, Senua was not evil.
That's
or immoral.
Or moral. Okay, so in other words, essentially an anti-hero or a villain. You know what? Pagan Min.
I was about to say I didn't play Far Cry 4, but sure, Pagan Min. There you go.
Pagan Min.
You go.
But he's not playable.
Oh, he's not playable. Oh, that's true.
Well, no, but
I said he's not playable.
You don't play most of the time. You don't play an antagonist.
No, yes, you if you're an anti-hero, then yes, that's the main character. You're seen as evil. You're the one playing somebody who's morally.
To be fair, though,
Pagan Min is the boss of Far Cry.
To be fair, though, the question doesn't stipulate whether it's an NPC or not.
Okay.
To be fair, but it
doesn't. I think it's implied. Like anti-hero is.
Well, no, because they say antagonist or protagonist, meaning, and in the sense of that question, that means protagonist or the person you're rooting for in the story, not necessarily the good guy, but the person you're rooting for.
Well, that's
or the
a
antagonist.
question. It's like the best villain and the best hero.
Who is the most relatable villain or hero? Who can be seen as evil?
Relatable?
Yeah, or that could be seen as evil.
I'm thinking.
So like,
I'm
it's
thinking
like
Negan for Walking Dead.
Well, that's the reason he brought
up.
up. That's the reason he brought up Joel, because Joel from Last of Us is kind of an evil guy.
Yeah, he's kind of
a lot of people.
He kills a lot of people.
Yeah,
and kind of destroys the world.
Yeah. So it is. So I think have we decided, or do we agree on what the question is now? I think it's a good question.
Yeah.
The good question is who's your favorite your top 3 relatable bad guys, whether they be protagonist or antagonist.
But they'll have to be this generation.
You know what? Yeah. You know what? Fuck this shit. This is our show. We're breaking that rule any generation because this is too tough. This generation hasn't really produced that many.
It hasn't really produced anything.
No, it hasn't.
So let's
I'd like to lead in with Starkiller then.
Starkiller's a good one. He could be considered evil. Okay, fuck that. If that's the case, my man Kratos, Joel, that's another one.
Yeah, definitely Joel. Nathan Drake.
Shit.
Kane from
yes, that's who I was thinking of.
There we go.
Kane and Lynch.
Kane from Legacy of Kane.
Legacy of Kane, baby. I ain't playing Kane and Lynch. Fuck that game.
Kane and Lynch was awesome. I love
Kane.
They're also considered evil. Like, I mean, they're bankrupt.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, my man Kane, man, that's like the perfect one.
Max Payne.
Max Payne, that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Max Payne.
Like, you're kind of evil. You killed a lot of people.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters, they kill ghosts.
They kill ghosts.
They're killing those ghosts, sending them to purgatory.
They're trying to have eternal peace roaming, and you just fucking it up, putting them in a box.
Hey! You don't kill them. You bust them, man.
Bust them. That's right.
All right, come on, guys. Now we're open.
I would say, what's it? The guy from Manhunt. What is this? James Earl Cash.
Yeah,
James O'Cash. Yeah.
I mean,
that was sad.
That guy is pretty much
brutal motherfucker,
that shit,
right?
my man. Yo, fucking John Marston, man.
He was put in a bad spot.
Yeah, fantastic.
John Marston was a bad guy, you know.
How about Hitman, Agent 47?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this motherfucker right here.
Type.
By the way, I got another one. Dip Dop Dupity. He's evil, man. Listen to what he just said. He goes, he made that question to prove a point that this generation doesn't have many good stories. Damn.
Oh,
devious.
Nice.
That means that you are our favorite protagonist / antagonist, Dip Dop Dupity.
Yeah, you are evil.
You used your masterful mind powers to manipulate us into proving a point.
Oh shit!
We are but puppets on your string.
We are but puppets.
Well played,
I mean,
sir.
Yeah, even if you said big boss, right?
Yeah.
That would be going to 3. He started his plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was not, and Peace Walker. It's not just 5.
I would throw Big Boss in there, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Even though he acts like a dope, letting that fucking Master Miller tell him what the fuck to do.
Yeah, that is true.
The dope. He's like, hey, you gotta go to that base. Motherfucker, I'm Big Boss. Send that nigga over there.
Send Charlie to do it. Send Bob to do it.
Send Bob to do it. But then again, Bob's not the main character of this game, so I gotta do everything for you dopes. I'm a one-man army here.
All right, guys, keep them coming. Carlos, Brian.
I'm trying to remember his name. The guy from GTA 5.
Trevor.
Trevor. Well, any of the GTA anti-heroes.
Tommy Vercetti and shit.
Claude.
CJ.
Yeah, CJ. They're not good people.
CJ was on like a redemption path, I'd say, more than anything else.
Well, so is John Marston.
See, yeah,
you know, that logic.
But
CJ, but the difference between
he doesn't have to
CJ
be evil; it has to be immoral too.
the thing is,
yeah.
the thing about CJ is he essentially becomes successful, unlike John Marston, who just essentially doesn't. He almost gets there, but he never gets there. Claude is kind of like a, you know.
Well, Claude is a revenge story, but he's still doing bad things.
John Marston is like the most opposite of successful you can be.
Brother Nico. So yeah,
Anybody else?
Super Mario.
Super Mario because he kills the toadstool.
Well, no, I would say Wario would be a better.
It's me, Wario.
And
he has his own games where he's the hero, but he's not a good character.
I am not a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
Pokemon.
What?
Cash Ketchum.
Because you think you're a good guy, but you're really just abusing animals and having a dogfighting ring.
It's true. Cockfight.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, what did you say?
Every guy, every person in Assassin's Creed, good or bad, all of them. They're all
true.
All of them
could be construed as evil.
Yeah.
All right, I want to jump to the next question since it's related from my man Innate. What is a game you played this generation that you felt had a great?
And
it can be a sequel because I already got one, man. I'm picking
easy.
Wait, this generation or this?
This generation.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Oh, Brian, go ahead.
Easy. Gone Home.
That wasn't really from this generation, though.
Really?
No, it wasn't. It was from last generation, actually. But it came out this generation on.
I'm gonna do it first. I'm gonna go first because I'm doing it right now. The Division. I think The Division, the whole premise, everything about it. I mean, that's why they're making the movie. You know, it's just
premise and story are different.
Yeah, they're very different. That game did not have a good.
I like that. Well, you still didn't do the whole story. You didn't do.
I did the whole story. I did.
You did the story mission. I was with you, but that's not the whole story. To get the rest of the story, just like we always talk about, it's all about the details. It's getting all the phones and hearing the stories and doing all the side missions.
Yeah, shit. If the game doesn't give you the story, I don't count it. Just like I don't, even though everybody tells me that Bloodborne has a great story, I don't know what the fucking story is. I'm not gonna count it.
There you go. It's based on a true story. Shit happened in Jersey. We all know.
Tony doesn't like to work. Tony doesn't like to work for them stories. If it's not in front of him, it's not there.
I'm gonna name this one just because it's underrated in my opinion. Yakuza 0 has. That played in a long time, man. It's just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. That ending is really fucking satisfactory.
I call fake news on that shit. I don't believe it. You have a chicken that owns a bowling alley. What?
I didn't even do that shit. You know. But yeah, that game. You know, like here's the thing about Yakuza, which is like, side missions are shit, but the main game stories are really dark and gritty. You know, it's a weird juxtaposition that works somehow. Game just layers upon layers. Damn, how many blitzes you gonna have? Good stuff. And I'm pretty sure there's others this generation, but that's like the main one that's sticking in my head right now. Although, shout out to Horizon. That was fucking cool. Horizon was great. When you find out what Zero Dawn is,
I got 2 more years to play it.
2 more years, yeah. When they told me what Horizon, what Zero Dawn was, I'm like, that's it. Game of the fucking. Until Persona came out. And then Persona, that's another one. Crazy ass story.
I didn't finish Persona though. That's.
I'm gonna say Nier Automata.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's right. He did play that.
It's a game that gives you that sort of satisfactory beat the shit out of everything, but then if you go a little bit deeper, you find out it's a lot more complicated.
I have to say Hellblade.
Hellblade's another one.
I would also say Hellblade as well.
That story is so good at its art, in my opinion. Like, I mean, it's really complex and deep. Even just the premise, and I won't spoil it for you. The very premise of, you know, your beloved is dead, and so you're carrying their skull, which is the seed of their soul, down to the underworld to collect it, so that they can rest in peace instead of being tormented in hell. And the entire time, you're not really sure if you're descending into the bowels of hell itself, or your psychosis is getting worse because of the loss of your only anchor to life. I mean, fuck, that's a deep elevator pitch right there.
the Norsemen say.
Yeah, and then they layer a lot of Norse mythology and existential crisis, and then layer on the whole psychosis thing on top of that, like icing on a cake. And you have a really, like, not just a good story, but the kind of story that you think about and still dissect hours after you finish with it. So, and it's a short game, but I gotta say, like, the story in it is it's short, it's powerful, and it's moving.
Okay, one question. This is slightly off. What is like? He's like he at some point the guy says, he's like, and then a car.
Muted, Manny.
I think he says, and then a car appears. He's like, I bet you didn't know I was going to say that. I'm like, a car? Wait, what's a car in Norse mythology?
Wait,
what? Fuck! I feel like I've heard that before.
He says it in the guy that goes, the Northmen say, if you take the skulls, the guy, every single time you walk over to those tablets, you hear a little bit of story. There's one that talks about a car it's in the section where you can choose to go to either fight the Surtur or the other one.
Oh, that's a spoiler. Thank you for that.
No, it's not a spoiler.
I didn't know that was in the game.
Well, no, he talks about it's literally in the room. There's 3 doors. You've been in that room. You're in there multiple times,
so
right?
The game has a wall breaking moment, basically.
I don't know. He just says, and then he's like, and then a car, and then he goes, I bet you didn't know I was gonna say. I bet you didn't think I was gonna say that. I'm like, car? What? Like, okay, what is car in Norse mythology? Because I'm losing that one.
Like, did the game break the 4th wall? Like, is he talking about an automotive vehicle?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if he's talking about.
You did throw this off. I'm like,
I don't know if he's talking about an automobile or anything like that.
It has to be something other than an automobile.
I know. I know that. But I don't know what it is in Norse mythology. Who is there a person named Car?
Well, let's get back on track here.
Anyway, that's my biggest thing about the game. I'm like, what?
I don't even remember that. I don't even remember what the fucking question was. You completely threw me off.
Yeah.
What kind of content would make Sea of Thieves a better game?
Yeah, man.
Well, okay.
Chris, narratives from this generation.
Dagar is the North personification for day personified.
Ah, there we go. It just sounded like he said car. Okay, good. Thank you.
Best narratives from this generation. I'd say The Order 1886.
That's a good one.
Not a good game. The story was excellent.
Sure.
Trying to think of another one. I mean, I wouldn't count Dark Souls because that's just continuing on something that's old. So if I said Dark Souls 3, I think it'll be cheating.
What about Bloodborne?
Yeah, Bloodborne's too damn confusing, man. I love the games, but like I can't understand that shit.
I think that's the best story of the Souls games, even though I don't like the ending as quite as much.
Bloodborne is a spiral into madness.
Yeah,
Bloodborne has clear and distinct acts, though. Like, it has the whole first half of the game where you're like, it's about the blood, it's about the blood, it's about the blood. Then you're like, oh wait, it's not about the blood at all, because the blood was just this kind of side shoot. So what is this actually about? Then you start to find about the eyes, about the eyes, about the eyes. Then you're like, okay, it's about people going insane. Oh god, it's actually about weird eldritch beasts breaking the firmament of reality.
Exactly, a spiral into madness.
Yeah, it's some Lovecraft shit.
Yeah,
you started in McDonald's and you ended up in hell somehow. I was like, what the hell?
Dude, I love that though. I love that. You're like, werewolf game, right? And you're like, for a little while.
It was like, hey, awesome! I get to beat up werewolves in the game. Awesome, another one of these. Wait a minute, how the hell do werewolves? What the hell do werewolves have to do with eldritch Cthulhu beings from space?
I don't know, man. That's why I said it's like, while you could be intrigued by that story, I think it's way too confusing and twisted for like just saying a general narrative, because the narrative of Bloodborne is never clear.
I wish at the end they would clarify everything, because I know a lot of people just basically play the game and then like jump on the internet to watch a YouTube video for somebody to fucking explain it. Like, I'm not saying they should break the whole thing down for you, but it might be nice at the end to be like, this is what all this meant, so that people like Tony would be like, oh, I remember. Oh, okay, I see now. I see now.
By the way, I've seen a couple of those videos, and I still fucks on our game, but I don't really care. I just want to kill shit. I just want to kill shit. Very sad. Again, I'm playing this. I'm like, hey, this is a Castlevania game I always wanted. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
You like Castlevania?
Anyway,
and then
yeah.
But that and the order to me, the order and Horizon, like, of this generation, I would say Breath of the Wild, but Zelda's such a long legacy. I don't know. I mean, it's a really good game, but also, oh wait, no, it's actually last generation too. So
yeah, that is true. It is the last.
it is the
game.
Wii U version, yeah. Yeah, so I'll go with those two.
Carlos.
I don't know if this is cheating, but this is a visual novel, Steins Gate Zero. It just built upon, because I mean, for those of you who don't know, Steins Gate is a really popular anime, but before that, it was first a visual novel on the Xbox 360. So they just released like what 2 or 3 years ago, they released the sequel to that, or maybe like an alternate universe kind of thing. And yeah, it was freaking amazing. But I also concur with a lot of the stuff that has been mentioned, like Horizon and Persona, and Yakuza. Even though I haven't finished Yakuza, what I like I played like maybe like 20 some hours of it, but it was like really really good. Trying to think what else as far as story for this gen. Nope, I think that's it.
Ryan.
Oh, Nier was good. Nier was really good.
Did you get to the second ones? The other ending?
And I didn't even get to the second ones.
Oh,
like,
okay.
just the first playthrough alone was really good.
Interesting.
What's the question? Because I got completely lost in the conversation.
Yeah, we kind of went in circles. What's your favorite story from?
I don't think I have one because I've not played many, and the ones I have played have been ranging from average, being Shadow of Mordor, to trash, being Need Speed Payback. So, yeah, sorry.
All right,
I guess Rhyme, but no, Rhyme was no.
Can we exclude the second half of this question for Brian, because Brian's a PC gamer? There's no such thing as blurry generation lines for PC gamers.
Well, but here's the thing though. Brian did also name some games.
Brian, I'm surprised you didn't name the main one, man. We need to bring this up because somebody's gonna
Warframe?
shit. No, not Warframe. It is a double
Heroes of
game.
Storm?
No, Witcher 3.
Sorry, Carlos.
What about it?
Somebody's gonna give a shit if we don't mention Witcher 3 in here.
Yes, Witcher 3. Yeah, that was fucking fantastic.
There you go.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Witcher 3. Yeah, thanks, Tony, for nagging me. I'm playing Burnout at the moment, so
Yes.
right now there's no story mode. They just crash into everything, make everything explode.
All right, Brett.
I thought I already answered this one, but I guess I haven't.
PS4 or Switch. Let's just be honest.
No, I did. I said Hellblade.
Yeah, you did. What about Bloodborne, Brett?
I know Bloodborne. As everybody knows, I love the Soulsborne series, though. So at this point, I'm kind of beating a dead horse, and I only try and bring them up when absolutely necessary. But yeah, and we've already kind of talked about it. I love the story of Bloodborne. I think it's a really cool story that wraps on itself quite a bit. It's complicated. It's convoluted. Like I'm the opposite of Tony, man. I like my stories with many layers, and I like to have to dig. Because I'm compelled to dig, and when I dig and don't find anything, I just end up frustrated and disappointed. So
the thing is, Yakuza had a bunch of layers, but I didn't have to read fucking the kitty text to find out. It just unwrapped like a cool like a mafia movie. What I mean?
I didn't have to read a bunch of text necessarily to understand Bloodborne or the Souls games. I think it's I've always been the kind of person who walks through God of War. Like I don't run through those corridors. I walk through them. I look at the statues. I look at the reflections in the floor. I marvel at, the architecture of a room. And I get a little bored because I start to see repeating textures or overused assets really fast, like in God of War. Like when you're sprinting through those rooms, you're like, there's tall golden statues on both sides of me, and I'm running through being a badass. But I'm stopping and looking at each of those statues. I'm like, every single one of them is just a copy of each other. In fact, this room is a copy of the last room. It just has a place bolted onto the right of it. None of this is actually like sculpted, and the level design is a little cheap and lacking. Obviously, they don't. I guess they're just trying to rush me through this corridor really fast. So I'm naturally inclined to stop and look at my environments, and I don't know if Manny's the same way, but like I'll take in a vista or the way that a cool scene is kind of set up, or even just pan my camera in a way that I'm like, that looks really cool, and I'll kind of make a mental note to see the way light plays off of stuff, or see a cool statue and like a cool vista, like it, and I kind of file it away for like inspiration for later. So I'm just a visual nerd, so I like seeing that shit. So
there's a game called Shadow of the Colossus is a lot like that.
Yeah, you need to play
nice.
that, Brett.
I'm glad to hear that. So
there's just a lot of like temples and visual storytelling that you could never know, but it's interesting that they're there, and it kind of gets you to think like, okay, what was here?
Yeah, and see, I love that stuff. Like a picture is worth 1,000 words is perfect in that scenario. So even not, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a thing like oh, there's an old church here that was overgrown, and then you found like an old well somewhere, and then you find like the ruins of like, you're like, oh, this looks like it was an inn or something like that. Like there must have been a town here at some point, but it's gone, and like the road was all overgrown, and like nobody even in the game has to say anything about it. Just like that cool stuff that you can find that tells you, and then you kind of look around, like notice like, oh, maybe some of it's collapsed or some of it's burned, and you're like, you can kind of put together like, oh, I found some old arrows and broken arrowheads and things like that. Like it looks like this place was raided and everybody was killed or something like that. Like, so visually poking around is honestly how I got a lot of my Soulsborne knowledge. And yeah, you have to read some item descriptions, but like it's more like I look at the way that a sword looks, and I read its item description, and it has like a little blurb about like a Taurus, and then you find something else, you're like, this looks like it belongs with this other thing that I saw earlier, and then you pull it up, and you're like, huh, they look really similar, so I'm guessing I can put these stories together, and then you find the first DLC, and I can't say it because technically it's spoiler for the people who haven't played the new remasters coming out. There's a certain place in the DLC that you warp back to, and you realize it's a non-destroyed version of a place that you've already been. You do some time traveling, and the game doesn't explicitly tell you this is the place that you were a little while ago when you fought another boss, when it was, an actual thing. Chris, you know what I'm talking about, right? Am I explaining this at least kind of right?
I guess
the Colosseum.
The Colosseum. Wait, I'm not remembering.
Yeah, anyway,
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if
yeah.
you know this, Chris, but the Colosseum with a Taurus is where you fight Sif.
Oh wait, that was a Colosseum. I thought that was just a Taurus's graveyard or his grave.
No, that giant like Colosseum circular building.
Oh, when you go in the
when
DLC,
you go back in time.
Okay, yes, that is a Colosseum. Yes.
Yeah, that Colosseum is the same land that you fight Sif on.
Yeah, it's just but it's become like a grave. It's just gone,
Yeah, yeah. But like, and it, like the second that hit me, it was one of those like, whoa, kind of moments. So I those visual storytelling moments, and I'm not sure if it's just the part of your brain that, when it all clicks together, your mind is blown away. You're like, wait a minute, is this the place where oh wait, is this under the, so the Chaos Flames and the demons then, okay, I see what's going on here. I get how this whole thing's working. Like when you realize where the bed of chaos is and how it affects the world, like, and that's why Dark Souls 1 is the best, because its visual storytelling is so amazingly on point in terms of how the land is built and how everything interacts with each other. It's like climbing the fucking world tree. Like everything affects everything else in an environment. So if like you have a fire environment below a water environment, then you're going to see remnants of the heat coming up through the water environment. And that's all I'm going to say, because I'm trying really hard not to spoil some people who definitely need to play this game.
All right, man. Last question here. How do you guys feel about the current state of storytelling in video games? Personally feel it's been downhill since the PS1. Pretty interesting because storytelling got better after the PS1. Okay, here's the thing. For this generation, it's just been okay, but last really good storytelling. I really like the fact that we had better models. You have subtlety on faces instead of the character going, "I'm sad." You can just show it on their face, you know. So I thought it kind of reached a high point, like specifically Mass Effect 2 and Uncharted 2, right? And then obviously, Metal Gear Solid 3 and PS2 era. This generation, it's been okay. I think there's certain factors going on in society in general that's kind of hurting storytelling. We don't need to get into that, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. That's kind of hurting games as well as everything else. But yeah, it's not horrible either. The current state of storytelling in games, I'm gonna say it's okay. I just wish there was more of them though, because now it seems like most games are free to play online shoot or whatever, like big narrative games on the downside. So I will say that's a little bit. Yeah, that's all.
I 100% disagree with everything Tony just said.
Of course.
Before you finish, I need to ask Tony one question.
Yeah.
You said that big narrative-driven games are on the downcline. How about venturing to the smaller ones?
What happened?
Because you were saying that you were finding that the big games were like in decline.
Yeah.
How about going to like the smaller ones? So like instead of like your God of Wars or whatever, like venture into like the smaller ones like that are not as big but still story-driven games.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I want my big AAA games, man.
Okay. I wanted an answer. I got one.
There you go.
Fine. Brett, back to you.
Brett, back to you.
Oh, I mean, I can elaborate. That I was just simply throwing that out. That I of course completely disagree with all the stuff that Tony had just said.
All right. So, what do you think
I feel like it's gone downhill. I feel like not storytellers. I feel like companies are afraid to take chances, and so they've distilled. I'm not even going to break it down. Derivative stories have become so derivative of previous stories or previous elements of stories that have worked, while being so afraid to try something new or offensive or radical, that we've all just seen, grizzled 30 to 40-year-old white guy with beard on cover shoot 'em extravaganza game. It's all become this quasi shooter man, and like it's always the lone soldier, the unstoppable hero, or the quirky outcast. Like the archetypes for the characters seem to be even minimizing. Even your favorite character, Snake, I'm sorry, is vanilla cookie cutter. I mean, he has cool backstory attached to him, but personality and character wise, he is the equivalent of vanilla ice cream, maybe with some chocolate sprinkles on top if you're being fucking generous. There's yes.
I'm not gonna say anything about Snake because the Snake is kind of built to be the surrogate for the player.
He's made that way on purpose, so that's not really a
but
negative.
The character of Big Boss is a lot more of an interesting character.
No, that's why I said Snake has a lot of interesting things tied to him, and so yeah, if you, especially in that context, like that's fine. But I think a lot of games aren't really pushing that idea. I mean, BioShock did a really good job, but everybody's so afraid to tell a story that they're just telling the same stories that worked before. And that's why I say like derivative is the word that I keep coming back to. I can't see a story that doesn't seem like it's rooted out of another story. And I would say that, oh, well, maybe that's just the world we live in. Maybe all the stories have, or all the ideas have at least been touched upon, but I keep seeing really interesting things, mostly springing out of comic books and then bleeding into TV and movies from there. But so I know that there are very creative ideas out there amongst creators and individuals and small groups, but I'm not seeing the companies back them to bring them to fruition.
It always has to do with the amount of investment a big company is going to have to put into a game. And most companies, EA is never, they're not going to put money into something that is an art project. If it's going to be a big budget game. You notice a lot of these smaller type of games, always they have all these really great abilities to kind of be more, complicated, story wise, because again, because there's not a lot riding on, they're not investing a bunch of money onto this stuff, so they're not, it's like, okay, we don't care about it. But then it's kind of like what happens with the movie industry. It's like what happened with Spider-Man 3. They could have done something really good, but the thing is that the movies company's like, no, we want this. We want we want this other stuff to happen. So yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you for saying that, because I understand and I agree with everything that you just said, but isn't the fact that we can analytically break down the very reasons that games have come to this point, isn't that alone almost objective proof that games have in fact come to this point? We couldn't be having this discussion about why games are lacking original stories if they weren't actually lacking original stories. Am I wrong in that?
Yep. But then again, most media is like that.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's like specifically saying, "Oh, games aren't original, don't have original
No.
stories." Like
I agree that most media is like that.
Yeah, nothing
but,
has original stories and hasn't for a long.
No, but if the question is, do you think that storytelling has gone downhill? And we can go so far as to go beyond that to tell you objectively why it's gone downhill, then I think we have concretely answered the question that yes, it has.
I still disagree. I don't think it's gotten kind of tapered off. Hasn't gotten any better. I don't think it's gotten any worse either. But that's just me.
You don't think the things that, so it hasn't got any better, it hasn't got any worse, has it just been the same?
Kind of, yeah, because people are, the big companies are afraid to experiment.
So isn't more of the same kind of going downhill because it inherently lacks
more of the
creativity?
Same. You're at the same. No, you're at the same level. If it's more of the same, you haven't gone backwards. You're stayed exactly where you were.
So if your favorite band stopped releasing new albums and only started re-releasing their old music, you would say that they're just as good as they used to be?
Yeah, because they haven't gotten bad by releasing a shitty album. They haven't actually gotten worse. They've stayed the same.
Your thought process just confounds and amazes me sometimes, Tony, and I mean that in the best possible way.
But it's so straightforward. You say, like, how can you could only get worse if you actually produce worse stuff? Stop producing worse stuff. You haven't gotten worse. It's basic logic, man. But
that's another discussion.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, go on. Things have gotten better or worse?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the genre,
I think we're kind of downplaying all the crap that was in the generations beforehand.
No, there were just more games, so there was more gold.
Back in the day?
Or more crap.
Yeah, there was more crap too. But there was more, it cost less to make a game, so they made more games. So there was more crap and more gold.
Well, I think there's good and bad, because there's been a consolidation of power in video games going from the earlier generations to now, where there was all these small publishers, all these small developers and whatever, and they all birthed like ideas because they were acted like more indie stuff, right? And then EA came along and Activision just like give it all to us, scoop up, consolidate studios, shut this down, combine this, whatever. So now you have these like super publishers and Ubisoft, EA, and Activision, and the like, and you have these massive studio arms because they shut down or consolidated all the smaller studios that they absorbed along the way. And then so you have this consolidation of power, and that's why you don't have any creativity coming out of there, because they're just looking to generate as much profit as possible. So that's the bad, right? And then we saw that culminate with the loot boxes, the stupid shit they did with Battlefront 2. That kind of greed when you consolidate like that, and just unmitigated. The good stuff is that technology has gotten so far, and certain companies have been, uh, you know, kind of. I give a lot of credit to Epic for not charging for Unreal, for actually making it free, and you have Unity. You have all these tools for indie developers to go out and make games, right? And that basically, the investment is very small. So that I think is a good thing.
If we're bringing indie developers in the conversation, I might change my tune a little bit because there's some awesome stuff going on in the indie scene. I will definitely admit that.
All right, anybody else?
I just think that it's like it should be better than what it is now. Like I'm annoyed at why there isn't better stories, because it's not like there's a medium out there that is good at telling stories. I mean, we have books, we have movies. Like with these, like great stories have been told, and I'm just confounded as to why we haven't been able to see something similar in terms of games. That's
Hey, Brian, you
that's
should
like
play a game
that's what
called Singularity.
God damn it, Brad. It's like I look back at games, and I'm like, is there a game where we can say like this is the Citizen Kane of games? Like, is there a game where we can say that is that in terms of story? And yes, I know games are young medium. That's fair, but if so, then when can we expect that? Like a game to come around and be like the turning point? Like, yeah, this
Well,
is
you
widely
need an
revered.
you need an upheaval of the industry, because if you're gonna say like, where's the Citizen Kane of video games? Like we've passed that point, and now we're in the Michael Bay Transformers of video games, right? Where it's just like, just churn this out because it makes money. The next Call of Duty, the next Battlefield, the next this, next. That's where we are. Like we're in sequel and rebootville, right? So we have to get out of that. The industry has to have a major shift, and I think you have to break up the studios. Like EA and stuff needs to get shrunk down. They need to stop just being just these juggernauts that control everything. Like, and then people leave these studios. A lot of talent bleeds out from there, and then they go do their own thing, and they become indie, or a small developer, because they can't take it on working under those conditions. That's where you lose the creativity. That's where you lose stories. So until that happens, if you're talking about Hollywood or you're talking about video games, until that happens, we won't have that. You'll have Michael Bay and not Orson Welles.
So, and Brian, to answer your question, the Citizen Kane of video games is generally regarded as Mass Effect 2 or BioShock, whether depending on you're talking about subversive games or dynamic storytelling, because both of those have gone down. And I remember when there was a huge hubbub when BioShock came about, how it brought up the discussion of games as art and subversive storytelling. And then when Mass Effect 2 came out, they were really talking about dynamic story and the creating of a vast, intricate narrative. So both of those actually were put up on pedestals for their quality storytelling experience, even at the time.
Shadow of the Colossus was the first one to
Yeah,
get the games.
there are games that we refer back to like that game was fucking, yeah, like Shadow of Colossus. Like there are games that have achieved this kind of golden status amongst
Final
games.
Fantasy VII.
Yeah, so we do have Citizen Kanes in our video games.
What's it called? Fucking Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can ask any gamer like, what is the greatest top 10 games ever, and generally you'll have 3 on that list that people agree on, and those are the Citizen Kanes of video games.
Then is that within the gaming community or outside?
And well, that's why I specifically brought up BioShock, because BioShock raised a lot of waves even outside of the video game community and was regarded at the time as pretty much the video game equivalent of a novel. Like it had a deep subversive story to tell that was actually worth hearing, and combined with the Art Deco art style and the very weird setting, that it was a game that was almost artistic in its implementation, and that it was a new high watermark of storytelling in the medium that legitimized the medium as being capable of telling these kinds of stories. Like, there was a big fucking hubbub about it, at least one that I remember. Do you guys remember all that shit?
I remember.
I mean, I think that's why Tony even played it months and months later, is because everybody was still beating the bands about, like, this is how storytelling in video games should be for years afterwards.
And by the way, like if you mention that phrase, the Citizen Kane of something, most people won't even know what the hell Citizen Kane is.
That was an awesome movie, Rosebud.
Yeah,
and
man,
most people,
I couldn't make it past the first 20 minutes. That shit was boring, man.
Oh,
yeah, and most people who do know that term, most of them haven't even seen the movie.
I tried. I'm just putting out there. I tried.
I had to take it in college as a film course.
That movie's.
Well, you also don't like movies that are about, people, like regular people.
Yeah,
they have to be
the
kind
of
of
where's the
sci-fi.
monster? Where's the monster or robot?
Tony wants to read Tuesdays with Maury.
You want Citizen Kane to involve robots and
Although that's not guaranteed all the time, because Space 2001, I couldn't make it through that fucking movie. Blade Runner, I couldn't make it through that fucking movie.
I feel like Blade Runner is the way that would work for you is if you're not in a room with a bunch of douchebags. That's not the type of movie you watch with people.
I could go on,
but
I
also wouldn't suggest you watch it again. Either.
Also tried Logan's Run. I couldn't make it.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
what about The Godfather?
Manny, you lent it to me. I never seen Godfather, although I want to though, and I know I would enjoy it, but I don't, guys. Unless I'm going to the theater, I don't watch movies.
Logan's Run, such a fun movie.
Yeah, you lent me that. I gave it back to Manny. I couldn't do it.
Did you like?
It's also just fun to watch for the kind of silly effects that it's got in it too. The obvious model shots.
We're getting off track here, man. This is a long fucking show for some goddamn.
We're all tap dancing. That's why
we keep vamping.
Yeah, we keep vamping. All right, man. So let's wrap this. So, thank you for watching and listening. Leave us a questions in the section of this episode. YouTube over on the Coalition. Answer them next week. Show. Grab it, Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Also on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are available in the description below. Once again, our show is joined by me, Piss.
I'll see you later, guys.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Laters, people.
Brett Murdoch.
It's been real, people.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
The hardest part about business is minding your own.
Indeed. All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday, man. Later.
Peace.